Hello and welcome to This Week in Stupid for the 5th of May, 2024. Christ has risen if you're an Eastern European, Orthodox Christian. If you're a heathen, you just don't get it. Welcome to the show. I'm here with my co-host Ors. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Hope you guys are doing great in chat too.
It hasn't been a very stupid week, I gotta say. The articles just didn't pile up like they used to.
Yeah, it's been there was a one single cycle that was pretty dominant all week.
Oh yeah, the gaming cycle, the entertainment one.
Yeah.
But from a news perspective, like politics and stuff, I think it was a pretty chill week.
Yeah, more or less. Lots of small things happening in the background, but
Yeah, like
everyone's focused on different stuff.
one of the more dominant ones seems to be a question that popped up on TikTok, was very popular. And that was, would you rather be alone in the woods with a man or a bear? And many women have said, much to the bear's dismay and horror, that they would rather be alone with the bear.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like there was, and when men were a little bit upset about this, women were like, you just don't understand because a bear is predictable and a man is not.
Ooh. Really? Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, well, have you ever heard about the Second Amendment? Like, if you can stop a bear with bear spray, you can also stop a bear with a gun. But there's like this very interesting viral video where the wife is trying to persuade the father that choosing the bed is better, and she was like, would you like your little daughter, like your 12 little daughter, to be alone in the woods with a bear or with a man? And what would you answer?
I mean, I would automatically say a man.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a little girl alone in the woods, like obviously you want a man to help her out of the woods, right? Because like if I meet a little girl in the woods, I would be like, well, little girl, where are your parents? What happens? Like, okay, let's call the police. Let's see if we can get you back home, right? Like, this is what most men would do, I assume.
Well, I mean, it's we're talking about a question of survival here. Your
It's
chances
like,
are
yeah.
better when you're two people, right? Like,
Such a,
but I mean, I guess they're talking about the psychology of predictability, like you said, right? The bear, you know, the bear's going to want to eat you, but you're not sure about the man. But that's like, I don't know. I don't. It's kind of like it's one of those like arguments in a vacuum kind of thing, right? It's a bad faith argument just in general because I mean, what if the bear doesn't want to hunt you?
well, no, I
Right?
guess
It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same Venn diagram, right? If there's going to be a man that predates, they're going to be the same thing as a bear.
yeah, no,
It
I
just
think
doesn't make any
yeah,
sense.
it shows the psychotic and pathological mindset of the
Yeah,
women that would say, well, I think men are more dangerous than bear, like all men. Like you don't know anything about them, right? Like no other information has been provided. But
yeah.
I'm
It's a
pretty sure.
very radical mindset that's produced in a vacuum of all other facts or variables. Like there's just
Oh yeah,
like what if it's a man that won't hurt a person,
yeah,
right? What
exactly.
if
No, but
it's
they
like
assume. Well, they say that's the point. They don't know, and if you want
yeah,
to
I don't know.
show that they just say the correct thing, like they don't really think about the question. It's like, okay, would you rather be alone in the woods with a rabbi or with a bear? Now, a rabbi is a subsection of a man, right? Like you have
Yeah.
like the man is the group, and a part of that subsection can be rabbis. And if she says the bear, then she would, because that would be very anti-Semitic, wouldn't it? So it just goes to show that they're just saying the current thing. They're just saying what they know gives them clicks.
Yeah, it's a shock statement, right?
Yeah,
It's an absurd statement said with the express purpose of getting attention, right?
exactly.
Like it's just it's so ridiculous and so I guess you could say like naked in its
Naked.
one-sidedness that it doesn't even make any sense to argue.
Yeah.
It's crap. It's crap. That's the only thing that they have to fuel their fire.
All right. Well, I just wouldn't want to be married with a woman that would say that. Like, ask my wife, because she doesn't follow American politics. She doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
And I just asked her, like, would you rather be alone in the woods with a bear or with a man? And she expressed exactly what I've said. And she's like, well, I'm alone in the woods, like, obviously with a man, because I need to get out of the woods.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, there you go.
It is a difference of a mindset between a person who's thinking rationally and a person who's never experienced actually being alone in the woods.
It's like, yeah, I mean, I would want to be with a man in the woods as well. It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
I don't know.
go on.
Weird shit, man. Weird
It
shit.
is. It's like you're reading this from Eastern Europe and like, what the fuck am I? And not to mention, you know, like it's the woods, so they probably don't expect to encounter the animal. But if you ask them, it's like, would you rather go in a pit with a man or with a pit with a bear?
Yeah.
Right? Do you know what I read?
Absurdism. Yeah, what's up?
A bear was alone in the woods with a woman, and he got me too.
Nice.
The New York Times, Columbia University to hold classes remotely after weekend protests. So Columbia University is probably going to become the most expensive streaming service in the world. $50,000 so that you can stream the courses.
Yeah, that's I mean that's what they're gonna sacrifice an entire like 3 semesters or 2 semesters
Yeah.
for the sake of protesting, and now they're in the process of like what demanding that what are they? Are they still demanding food, or are they demanding
This
suspension
was
of their exams?
well, I mean, these are people that were trained in the universities how to protest. Like this is what they were actually teaching the students in the grievance studies, like post-colonial studies, I don't know, gender studies, like all most of the things that end the studies is to teach them how to do these types of protests. And most of these,
Really?
like most of these protests, I mean, if you want, I can get you a scholar paper from a renowned feminist, and she's basically saying that she wants the students to become like a virus, where they go into the cells of society, which are basically organizations, companies, and they start to,
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
saw
they start,
someone on a stream saying something like
yeah,
that.
they start subverting those institutions in order to produce more gender studies. And this is what you see with Gillette, right? Like Gillette makes razors, and all of a sudden they have this commercial where they talk about how boys will be boys leads to rape culture, and you as a man should never approach a woman in public, and that type of thing, right? And this is happening because of these activists in part. But like most of the times they were supported by the government. So like they go, they protest, and they demand water, and the demands are being given to them. And now, apparently, it's not because they're protesting the university. The university
Yeah,
is like,
well,
no.
I'm reading this right now. Yeah, it looks like they're demanding that their exams be canceled and that they be given a blanket pass because
Yes.
of trauma, apparently. And
Oh,
I'm
they
like,
did that in the
ooh.
past. Yeah. Like during law school, I remember in 2016, they had this weird protest where they just lied on the ground. So you'd go on the university campus and it looked like bodies from like some war crime that was committed. But no, like the students were just sitting on the ground. And it's because they were refusing to go and learn about rape. Now, this was a law school, and they had to learn about, you know, what constitutes the crime of rape, which are the aggravated things. Because, you know, you may be a
Uh-huh.
lawyer, you may have to either defend the victim or, heaven forbid, defend the actual person that committed it. Make sure that he
Well, I
gets...
mean,
the-
understanding the minutia of like the actual legal details of what is defined as that term and not like if you wind up trying to make an incorrect argument in court and it gets rejected and you made your entire prosecution based on that, right? Suddenly you're in double jeopardy and you just lost the case and your guy goes free and that's it.
Well, yeah, but
You know,
these
like
students... Yeah.
that's the kind of thing you absolutely need in order to do your job correctly if you're trying to learn about the law.
Yeah, but basically the university gave in to the students, and they had trigger warnings before classes. And I was like, okay, so you're
Yeah.
telling me that if I'm triggered, I can just not go to the class? Wow, holy shit. And apparently the exams as well. Like there were cases where universities would give passing grades if the student was triggered by the material. And I was like, if I was at university, I guarantee to you I'd be triggered. I'd be triggered by everything that I can be triggered, just so that I don't take the course and I get the maximum grade. I mean, duh.
I mean, that's pretty crazy. I don't even see why. Like, imagine just being able to abuse that, right? Like, we're seeing more and more of these programs getting abused for the sake of, I guess you can say, allowing a participation trophy to feel like first prize.
Yeah, but like, who
And
wouldn't want to abuse it? I mean, you'd be stupid not to, right? Like if you
well,
don't
yeah, of
abuse it,
course.
yeah, like if you don't abuse it and you play by the rules, and you look around you and you see the people that abuse it get better grades than you, like,
I mean, if you want an ego flog, yeah, but I mean, if you at this point here, if you're in college and you're not running like a side hustle or something to get ahead, you're probably going to wind up behind by the time
Yeah.
that you graduate, especially with the cost per semester in the USA. So
Yeah. No, but like I just wanted you to understand the mindset of what leads to a student making this sort of protest and then demanding that the university brings them water and blankets and shit. Um, now I
yeah,
will tell you so.
that part's pretty wild. Like when I remember, like I come from a town that has a very big mining community, right? A
Mhm.
unionized mining community, and they did a lot of protesting. And I remember when they just were getting ready, like when they would get a whiff that they're gonna need to strike or to do a sit-in or a shutdown or whatnot, they would get their shit ready weeks
Yeah.
beforehand. They would get like packs of drinks, water bottles, like the big crates of like cans of Pepsi or like RC Cola or whatever the hell. And they would have all of that stuff ready because they know that it would be difficult to get that kind of just basic logistics to their strike line if they didn't have it ready.
Yeah.
And like
I mean,
that's how you know that this stuff wasn't grassroots,
oh yeah,
right?
but
Because
but
no
I
one thought about the basics.
yeah, I know. No, actually, in the case of the universities, they did think about it because it isn't grassroots. Because if you look at all the tents, they look exactly the same. And this just doesn't happen in a grassroots thing. Like when it's a grassroots thing, everyone brings their tent from home, right? Or maybe some people organize and they buy their own. But like literally every single tent has the same color. Every single
Yeah.
blanket has the same color.
Across assuming that the pictures that were being posted on Twitter aren't doctored or anything like that.
Yeah.
Across multiple cities on top of that, like that stood out to me really, really much. Like that's a big flag for me.
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
talking about like coast to coast, different cities all have the same tents, like were they all shipped from the same organized source, or did they all just happen to take the same tents from the same like retailers on the same week?
Yeah.
What the hell? Like
No,
that's weird.
because I'm from Eastern Europe, and this is the first thing I look when I see a protest. It's like, do they carry the exact same signs? You know, like,
Yeah.
if you have people that have the exact same chants, exact same signs, exact same thing, like it's a political rally, that it's organized. If they have
Yeah.
the same tents, if they have like the same,
How many slogans are repeated?
yeah, exactly.
How
How do they
many
talk to the
handwritten placards versus pre-printed placards?
yeah, how do they talk to the press? Like if they're very well spoken, well articulated, that's a red flag. If they talk very stupidly, very they stutter, like that's more grassroots because that's how normal people talk when the camera is being pushed in front of them. Like
Or look what you saw recently, and I'm sure you saw these videos where they go up to try to talk to just some people near the fences, and none of them are talking. They say you have to talk to a media liaison.
yeah, that's
Media liaison for okay, well,
yeah. So anyway, that happened. That now something else which you probably will like. Let me see if I can post it to you. We'll talk
what's
about
this now?
this one. This one is about Starbucks. Starbucks is collapsing.
Oh, the Starbucks crash. Yeah.
So the Starbucks crash is very interesting. Apparently, the CEO doesn't have a good day.
Yeah.
He goes on the air in order to talk about it, and while he's on the air, 16% of his stocks just go up. It's like it's crashing even further.
Yeah, the message that he was putting out, because if you listen to it, his actual video, right? He's got a good voice. He talks about it well, right? The problem is that he's trying to veil a shovel of shit as a silver spoon,
Yeah.
right? Because the whole big deal is like why are you telling about this like market shortfall now when you should have been announcing like at about halfway through each quarter you're supposed to announce whether or not you're going to be on projection, and these guys were completely radio silent for a good period at the time from what I was reading.
Okay, let me tell you the history of Starbucks because you don't see.
Yeah, hit it. Go ahead.
Right. So back in 2014 or 2016, when did Trump get office? It was like really after Trump got office. The CEO of Starbucks, in his infinite wisdom, decided to support social justice. Like that was at the time what it was called. And he had this initiative that if you go and you take a coffee and you're white, the barista is going to lecture you about white privilege. Did you hear about that?
No. Well,
can you imagine how awesome it is? Like you're early in the morning getting ready for work, and you have the barista going. It's like, all right, Maurice, let me tell you about slavery. Let me tell you about the racist history of the United States of America. But
I
anyway,
don't know,
that
man. Like I never got anything else except for like what you want in your coffee from a barista. Usually
well, yeah,
they're
yeah,
way
yeah,
too busy
because
telling me to tap my card on the
well,
damn screen as a fucking
yeah,
reader.
because they only tried this with a couple of their places. Didn't work out, even though it was in Portland, very liberal city. Even that didn't work out, right? So
Wait, did they actually put this? They actually put
yes,
this as an initiative?
yes, yes, and apparently the feedback was negative. Now, um,
Wow, I wonder why.
the
Oh
reason
shit.
I'm mentioning this is so you can understand the mindset of the CEO, right? So like the CEO was a very, very activist oriented individual. Now,
All right.
there was an event, and I'm pretty sure you heard about this, where two black gentlemen go into a Starbucks and they're sitting at a table, not ordering anything. And apparently the person that was running, like the manager, comes up and goes like, well, are you guys going to order anything? And they're like, no. And the manager goes like, well, if that's the case, we're going to have to ask you to leave. And the two black gentlemen kind of told the manager to fuck off. So the manager calls the cops. And the cops arrive and they arrest them for trespassing. And this causes a massive media outroar, if you remember that. It was in the press.
Yeah, I do remember that one.
Yeah. So basically it was like, oh, you're calling the cops on innocent people. Like these were, I don't know, retail investors or some shit. I don't fucking know. But like, anyway, the manager gets fired. After that, the CEO of Starbucks shuts down all of its stores for diversity training. Like he actually took a bite of like tens of millions of dollars by shutting down all the businesses, getting all of these people for diversity training. Yeah, and then
That's
they
a
said,
lot of manpower hours spent not
yeah,
generating revenue. Holy hell. Go on.
yeah, and then he's basically like, no, if you want to come in our Starbucks, you can come. Like, there's no problem. You don't have to order anything. You can just come to our Starbucks. Now, you can see why this may have been a bad
not
idea.
gonna work out well.
Didn't
Yeah.
work out well, yeah, because a lot of liberals, they say that they like the lower classes, that they like impoverished people and whatnot, but they don't want to see them. When you go to a posh place, which Starbucks is, like, let's be honest, is the corporate coffee, like the people that work in office and corporate places, like they can afford it, but like they don't want to see the guy that's a junkie going into the Starbucks. And I remember on Reddit, on our Starbucks, there were employees that were saying, dude, I'm quitting because I can't just handle the needles anymore. Like, you gotta clean the bathrooms and it's filled with needles with God knows what. It's like health hazard, right?
Yeah.
So,
hazmat shit.
and that's why Starbucks is starting to lose a lot of its customers, that for some fucking reason. Now,
Well, I mean, pair that with the fact that like the median cost for one of their like what is it, they venti drink is something like $6.50
Jesus
before
Christ.
any changes or any extras.
yeah.
Like that's insane for a drink.
Yeah. So anyway, the manager that got fired sues the company, manages to win. Like, she basically said, you fired me because I'm white. And she brought a
Yeah.
case that there was a pregnant woman back in the day, this was on Fox News, who also wanted to use the bathroom, but because she wouldn't order anything, she was asked to leave. And they called the cops on her as well. And there was no media outroar or anything.
Yeah, well,
At
I
least
mean, that's
not...
just basic loitering law.
Yeah. So anyway, then during the BLM stuff, Starbucks also supported it. After the BLM stuff, they were like, well, it's unacceptable that people can just go into a place and steal shit. It's unacceptable. Like, you guys, you need to bring law and order here. You can't just have like people breaking stores and stealing stuff. It's unsustainable business practice. And I was like,
Yeah, well, that's a whole different ballgame with their
defund the
I guess
police, yeah.
well, it's not just defund the police. There's also a very different way that California, at least some counties in California, handle the right to move freely
Yeah.
and the right to enforce, right?
Mm.
So it makes it very complicated for both people who are doing, say, loss prevention inside retail when you're in California, just as much as it is for law enforcement. I mean, that it makes it complicated for them. So imagine a system where the law almost incentivizes,
Oh, yeah. Well,
right?
that's what he
So
was talking about. And I was like, well, you can't be a cog in the machine and complain about the smell of the oil. Or we have an expression in Romania, you can't have a cock up your ass and your soul in heaven. Like, you're basically supporting all of these practices. You've been an activist and you supported many of these social justice movements. And now you're noticing, oh shit, actually, I'm losing money over this. Well, yeah. I mean,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I can explain it to you. I can explain it to you from a logistics side exactly why it's a nightmare for police and why like defunding the police has a direct effect on it. And like beyond a shadow of a doubt from like any of the weird arguments you might hear on Reddit or anything like
Mm.
that. There's a direct like connection between defunding the police and answering these kinds of like just like civic issue calls just because of manpower hours.
Yeah. Just so you know, I'm not sure you're aware, but in California, yeah, if a criminal steals less than $1,000, cops aren't allowed
Yep.
to chase them.
Generally, yeah.
And apparently, like what ended up happening is that, well, criminals adapt, right? So they created their new business model, and it was these are the goods that are worth less than $1,000, and they got what is it? God damn it, a fence, right? And the fence was like, yeah, I need the baby powder milk, I need the non-perishables, I need all of these because
Hmm.
this is like the stuff that we can move quickly. So they would hit like stores $900, $900, 900. They would make more money than I ever make. And
Yep.
obviously the stores are shutting down, and the people that made the laws are like, oh, the store is racist. And it's like, no, the store is just not sustainable. They're not offering any profits. Like
Yeah,
you're taking more.
the rate of loss exceeds the rate
Yeah.
of gain by at least by the rate of attrition, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Target originally, like in other states where like like the basic rule of misdemeanor is still applied, right? Like anything less than 1,000 is less than grand theft, right?
Mhm.
A grand theft is typically measured at just $999, right?
Yeah.
But now, like originally, other retailers like Target, Walmart, and all that, they would use recognition, right? They would just use loss prevention to take pictures and such without interfering, up to the point where they know that person had stolen at least 1,000, and then they could prosecute under a felony law, right? Then it makes it worth the while.
Oh, so the big
So
stores can do that because like a mom and pop store wouldn't be able to have this technology.
Well, exactly. And even with that, when you think about franchising of like Target and all that, remember that there's a difference in franchising between a corporate owned store and an individually owned store or a group owned store, right?
Mm-hmm.
But beyond this, think of it this way, V. It people steal in other states, and this and theft in general, like loss from just like
Yeah,
day to
people steal
day
everywhere. Like
theft
even in my
is
country,
really,
they
really
steal. Yeah,
high.
it's not. Yeah.
All of the other stores are still open, but the stores in California were closing because it was so bad, despite the normal like understanding that their insurance covers a part of it, that there's already an expected amount of attrition based because of stealing or product damage and all of that shit. And it was still so high that even in those markets, it made more sense to shut down the store than to keep it open. That's how you know that stuff was really, really bad.
Oh, I didn't need to even know that. Like the CNN went into a store to make an interview about this type of theft. And while CNN was there, while the reporter was there were three different instances where people just walked in, took shit, and left. And
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
wow, holy shit, like that is bad. That is like if even CNN goes there for like 1 hour, like how long did they take? And then you
Well,
multiply it by how many hours the store is open.
yeah, well, word would spread really quick if there's a vulnerable place, like a place that doesn't have, say, their razors under lockdown or any high value products that are easy to cycle and really wanted by the general community and shit. People are gonna line up to it, right?
Yeah.
If someone a new oasis arrives in the desert, everyone that knows is going to go to the oasis.
Rating terrific for $5. V, I think you're being shadow banned because I had to manually look up your stream. Also have somebody eagle. I appreciate it. I don't think I'm shadow banned. I think that this is just YouTube being YouTube. It is what it is. If you don't know I'm streaming, you just don't know. You gotta manually check it out. Right. So Starbucks didn't have a nice week. I don't think they will recover, to be honest. See,
No, not at all.
this is something that a lot of people brought up. This is you're Canadian. We will talk
Hmm.
about it. I know how you're feeling about it. Apparently, Canada will be home to the first national 2S LGBTQI. Did you know that Trudeau actually struggled to say 2S LGBTQI plus monument in the world? Right? So it's the first national 2S LGBTQI plus monument in the world. No, we won't go back, says Seamus Orega Jr. The first response to this is a gentleman which has quite a few retweets. People line up at food banks. People dying in the streets of BC. Food prices soar, gas prices soar, immigration and illegal migrants soar, and this is where our taxpayer money is going.
Yeah, where we have a coast to coast problem with like civic integration and problems with we'll say cultural differences that are not getting addressed. We have problems with civic access to good homes and good food. We have a massive massive inflation problem ongoing, right? Prices are going completely out of control. And here we are.
I mean,
This is our priority.
yeah, I mean, I'm not against like the government making monuments. I gotta say, this one doesn't look as bad compared to. Have you seen like the
Well,
American
hang on, V. Hang on. This is the blender render.
the
Okay.
blender?
We don't know what's gonna actually come out of that. That's the blender render, right?
I
That's
see.
an idealistic view. Take a look. Take a look at other types of corporate art that was blender rendered before the monstrosities that are out today come out.
I
V.
see. I see. I
This,
didn't know that. Yeah, no, like oh my god, like America made two monuments which are absolutely horrible. Like one of them is for Martin Luther King's wife, but it looks like a penis. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, couldn't you hire a better sculptor that can sculpt something more beautiful? Like, what? Like, surely Martin Luther King's wife deserves better. Hold on, I'll show it to you. I don't even know if I can show it on YouTube because it literally looks
don't risk
vulgar.
it. Don't risk it. Don't risk
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. But like, you guys can Google MLK monument. Hold on, let me see exactly how you need to phrase it so that because the MLK monument actually looks good. Oh yeah, MLK wife monument. All right, I will show it to you, Ors, and tell me that it doesn't look like a big phallus.
All right,
I don't know
let's
if
take
I
a
can
look.
show this on YouTube or not.
Well, from that angle, my God.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
Right? Like it's I'm not
I
making
I
it up.
remember
Like
seeing this statue from a different angle, but from that angle, that's
like how did it get
like
past? Yeah, how did it get past the censors? Is I want to know.
I don't know, man, but I've seen enough doujinshi to know where that's going.
What the fuck? And it's not like, well, like it's a obscure angle. Like if you're there and you're walking around, you will get to that angle.
It's like it's that's how you know it's art. You get a very different feeling based on your perspective of the piece.
Yeah, like literally, this is for MLK's wife, and I'm thinking, what did the author mean by this?
Oh damn, yeah.
But yeah, so there's another one, another African American monument also made by like progressives. It looks like shit. Hold on, let me see if I can find the African American monument.
Yeah,
US.
while you're bringing that up, I mean, this kind of like I'm taking a look at the one that you posted for the MLK wife monument, and it's like I immediately think about how there's a lot of like background drawers and other artists and such that will sneak in pictures of dongs and such inside their pictures just as the sort of like middle finger to either like a content editor or whatever, and that. I see something like this, and it's like, there's no way that this wasn't put in there on
So you
purpose.
think
Like,
it's intentional? You don't think
somewhere
like...
someone knew, somewhere someone knew, like when they were either installing and someone didn't call it out, or way after the fact, then someone just gives a nod to another dude and it's like, "Yep, I
Do you
signed
think
up
I
on
should
that."
show it on you? You know what? I will show it on YouTube. I don't think it's problem because like you're allowed to show artistic
Yeah,
stuff.
that's like the Getty Images has the same image. You're not gonna get in any trouble.
Hey, I'll just ask the chat. Just Google MLK wife monument. You will see it. It's there. People call it the Michelle Obama monument for some reason. I don't know why.
Is she the one that unveiled it, or?
It's Michelle Obama monument. It's a big cock. Like, come on. So, yeah, like regarding this Canadian LGBT monument that's being made up. So you're saying it's not going to look like this, like we don't know.
I would be very surprised, based on just the track record of our other monuments, taking a look at like what they put on as the concept art versus what came out. the budget won't fit this.
Hmm.
Like that's a very idealistic render.
It's so
So
weird. Okay, so I see like two men walking around with a dog. There's two bunnies on the left. I don't know what they mean by this. Two butterflies as well.
yeah,
We got two underage kids holding hands, like a romantic couple, while the dog looks at them lustfully. And there's a black lady holding the dog, which is looking at the kids lustfully. And yeah, it's just like,
I mean the dog looks like it's sniffing on the ground for me.
is it? No,
Yeah,
it's
head
looking
down,
at no,
sniffing
no,
on the
no.
ground.
The other dog, to the right next to the
Oh,
tree.
oh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a happy dog.
It's a happy dog. Yeah, no, it's like such a bizarre represent. Like it doesn't really represent anything. You know, it doesn't speak to me.
It's very homogenous corporate
Yes, yeah. Like, oh my
theme.
god, that's literally what I was looking for. It is very corporate. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's something that doesn't really
It's
transmit anything. Like it has pretty colors, but it doesn't really try to
yeah,
make you
it's
feel
kitsch.
anything. Yeah.
It's kitsch. It's messageless art.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. Yes, thank you. It is because I was looking at it and I just didn't know
Like
like why exactly doesn't it fit? Like what is the problem with it? Because they're presenting it
right.
as if it's like this, huge thing. It's like the first nation in the world that's going to have this, and I'm like, well, okay, show me. And I'm looking
Yeah.
at it and I just don't feel it. It's like, where's the excitement? Why isn't there an excitement?
I mean, assuming that let's take a look at it specifically from face value. All right, let's say
Yeah,
that they are going to produce exactly this.
yeah.
When you produce a piece of visual art like a public display like this, you're supposed to be able to take a look at it and interpret some form of a message or experience something or like be able to take all of the features and create like an aggrandizement, a vision of something, right? Something to inspire, something to attract the eye.
Well, to be
And you
honest,
take a
like,
look at this,
or I
and
come
it's
to
like
you. Hold on, I come to you, and you're a great artist, right? And I'm like, I want you to build a monument about men fucking, but it needs to be in the park in a public place, so don't make it vulgar.
so
Like
this
take
is
into
what we
account
wind
that
up with.
kids are going to be there, right? But it's about good sex, right? Like men having like how what would you how would you create that? Like what exactly could you possibly depict?
I don't know.
Which represents
Chicago
what I'm
bean.
asking. Like on one hand, represents what I'm asking. On the other hand, is not offensive enough.
Yeah, but like let's take a look, like I said, on face value, right? This
Mm.
monument here, how what is it doing to represent these communities, right?
But there
Right.
is
Let's
no
like
like again.
the
That's
whole
my
the whole the
yeah.
whole alphabet soup of it set aside, right? Let's look at it for the communities that they are, and take a look at this monument, and you say, all of this represents this, but what is it communicating?
But yeah, that's the thing. I don't believe the alphabet soup is a thing. I mean, the sexuality of liking the same gender that doesn't put people like that doesn't connect experiences like other communities do. Like if you're raised in the Bronx, well, you got the culture of the Bronx, right? Like you know the
Hmm.
people there, you got the culture that. But like, if you just happen to like men, I mean, you can be from the Bronx, you can be from another place, you can have one culture, you can have a completely different life experience. Like the only thing that it's kind of like having the culture of people who read books, right? Like that is not enough to create something that connects people with each other. That is
Yeah, it's more of a like it's a quality that's supposed to transcend that kind of thing, right? Because that sexuality is supposed to be a personal like
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
personal
yeah.
decision, right? Or not a decision, but a personal feature, I guess you could say, because it's ingrained. But like to create a culture based on that is weird. I don't know. I find it.
Yeah,
Maybe I don't
it's like
understand it
imagine if
entirely,
you
but to
it,
base entire like an entire movement like that
yeah,
is
like imagine if you tried to make like the community of the people that like to fuck their wives in the ass. It's like what
I don't know.
yeah, like what common denominator can those people have outside of that? Like what? Because like if you talk about Canadians, like you can have common denominators about Canadians. It's like, well, the history
Yeah.
that
Well,
binds them together, the policies under your current government, the prices at the supermarket. Like there are things which connects people. But when you're putting them like under this political umbrella, it's just like based on what
yeah.
they like to have
Well,
sex with, it's like Oh.
Let me explain what I meant from what I just said a second ago, right? Because I think it's relevant here, right?
Mm.
When you take like the whole like acronym, because I don't know it by heart, right? But you take
LGBTQSIA plus.
yeah, like you take the grouping, right? And you set them aside like that, right? You section them away. You make it harder to just normalize them because like these groups want to be included, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, why can't they just be included as people rather than excluded and then identified,
Mm.
right? Like why do they need that flair? Why
I don't think the
haven't
groups
haven't
even
we
want that.
evolved to the point where we could just be people
Yeah,
instead?
I don't
And
think like. See, I do have Patreons that are part of the LGBTQSI plus community, and what they told me
yeah,
is that they don't agree with their activists, and if they go into their communities and they say they don't agree with their activists, they're usually getting canceled. So you basically just have
there's
the
yeah, I've
grifters.
seen
Yeah.
I have seen many many artists get canceled because of their I guess they could say not going with the flow, like
Mm.
choosing not necessarily denouncing, but just like I have a lot of friends who are in like the Pixiv and furry artist community and all that, right?
Yeah, and if they
So
don't toe the line, yeah.
yeah, well, not only that, sometimes if they're approached and they specifically stay neutral or just don't mention it, that's sometimes enough.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's the like Tumblr when it was a lot more relevant, like around like 10ish years ago. Like when we're talking about commissions and stuff, like there's some people who actually like their businesses suffered because of this craziness.
Jesus. CGR 902, thank you for the $5 Canadian. It looks like a used toilet paper roll with a sphincter on it. Fuck,
Yeah, it's a
maybe.
very confusing monument. I wonder if there's a statement by the artist that would
You know what?
explain what
I
the
want to
vision
go to
means.
Canada and meet with you, probably get Dev and just sit in front of that monument with a glass of wine and just like, rubbing my chin and trying to ponder what the artist meant by it.
Yeah, like did they produce a pamphlet? Like if they're applying for public funds to make this stuff, surely there is an explanation as to what exactly we're buying, right?
Anyway, here's another interesting news. Google lay off hundreds of core employees, and they're moving some positions to India and Mexico. Google is
Oh
laying off
yeah.
at least 200. And I just want to point out that during the pandemic, I had a lot of disagreements with the IT sector.
Hmm.
There was this study before the pandemic, and it said that people who work from home are more happy and fulfilled. And I read the
Yes.
study, and I told them, it's like, well, yeah, but the study was done for 3 months. Like, if you want to work from home, and you're going to, have a wife, a crying kid, and you're going to work from home for years, like, I know you as a person, you wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't be able to have the regimen to wake yourself up every morning so that you complete the work on time. Like, some people can do it, but I know you as a person, you won't be able to do it. He told me
Oh
to
me?
shut. No, 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 not you. A person that I was talking with. He told me
Oh,
to.
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, he tells me to shut the fuck up. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, fine. The
Okay.
pandemic happens, right? And I go on his Facebook page, and he was complaining about the fact that he has to work from home and he can't handle the stress anymore because it's difficult to listen to his nagging wife. And I'm like, remember what I told you? And he blocks me.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I've been working. I mean, since I have my own company and all that, I've been working from home since, like I say, almost 15, 20 years, almost.
Yeah, but
Just
it's not for
no,
everyone,
no, not
right?
that
Like
long.
it's
15
not
years.
it's like the fact that you can't separate home and work is a thing that exists in the
Yeah,
psyche, right? Like when I
it
used
takes
to.
discipline. It
Yeah,
really does.
exactly. Yeah, because when I was going to the hospital, it's like, okay, I go to work, and your mind is like hospital equals work, and then you come
Yep.
home, and it's like, okay, home equals happiness. When you have like your work from home, like that thing gets jingled up and
The
together, and it's
disconnect.
yeah.
Yeah, the disconnect between being in a place of work and a place where you can like disconnect from that shit.
And then it's also the fact that if you have a family, and they usually don't understand that you're working because they see you at home, and it's like, well, you're at home. Why can't you take out the garbage? Why can't you? When are you coming for dinner? When are you doing this and that? And it just keeps
Yeah,
disrupting
the
the
dilemma
workflow.
of the suburban guy with a wood shop in his garage. He's always on call.
Yeah. But the important thing about this, right? A lot of people did not appreciate working from home. Others did. But when it was time to come back, I remember like middle management was absolutely horrified over the fact that people need to come back. Sorry, over the fact that people went away and worked from home because middle management realized that they're kind of useless. It's like, well, how can we stalk our
Yep.
employees? How can we, make sure that they don't say the inappropriate jokes if they're not at the office? So
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a decision from a lot of directors who don't want the work of having to follow their direct reports, because otherwise the directors with middle management is completely useless in a work from home
oh yeah, and it was
environment.
revealed. Yeah, it was revealed that middle management was kind of useless. But the thing that I'm happy, quote unquote, to see this is that again a lot of employees were like, no, working for home is amazing. We don't want to go back. Like Twitter employees were like this. We don't want to go back to the office. And now
Yeah.
companies are realizing, well, if we can hire Bob, who works from 100 kilometers away from his ranch, we can also hire Jose from Spain, or we can hire
Yes.
this guy from India, and we can pay him a lot less. Why,
Oh
why
yeah,
do we
not
need
only
to hire?
that.
Yeah, why do we need to hire Americans? And I mean, they're asking a lot more when we can hire someone else that does the same job and is from India.
Yeah, that or for in this case here, like when Google took away those 200 employees, right?
Yeah.
In one of the big instances, because that 200 incorporates multiple like layoffs from multiple small departments.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one large portion of that was actually a service that was designed on the U.S. side. But once it's designed and created and the service runs stable and you have the documentation, all of that shit, right? Once the hard part is done, they can do what's called cubicle carving, right? Where they
It
take
sounds horrible.
a a team of say 20 cubicles, which would be around like to 20 to 25 people if you have rotating pods that worked on the design and the architecture of this product and service, and transform that into 10 people offshore that are just there to maintain and do light updates and take orders from whatever subdirectors is above them to tell them what feature needs to be implemented next.
You
They
know,
can
if
take a team and turn it like a senior team of 20, which is a lot of HR overhead, and turn it into a small team of maintenance that's offshore.
if I ever run a campaign in D&D where it takes place in hell, and we're talking about like that lawful evil setting where you have
Yeah,
like
hell is
devils.
bureaucratic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would hire you to write it because like what you're describing right now is like the most humaneless shit that I have ever
Yeah.
heard in my entire fucking life. Like the way you're describing how companies look at people, it's like, well, it's just like some cubicles and we spin them around.
Yeah.
And this is like what goes behind the scenes, right? But like in front, it's like, oh, welcome to the corporate family. Oh, isn't this great? We're going to fire Nerf guns at each other and we work hard and we play hard here at Costco. It's like, it's such a two different image. Like the way they're talking with the workers, and they have like the office looking like a kindergarten, and then
Yeah,
behind
payroll
the
trimming
closed
is
doors is
brutal.
like, yeah, we need to start offshoring, and we need to start moving the cubicles and cutting costs and.
Well, having experience in payroll trimming and just dealing with like small and medium companies that are going through like super growth and have that very loose and like the culture that you're talking about is a very loose culture, right? Very prosperity. That prosperity only lasts as long as venture capital lasts.
Mm.
After the venture capital is done, then everyone is on the chopping block.
They're now 1,804. The motive of every activist movement is to make sure their cause never succeeds. If their cause succeeds, they will be unemployed. I actually know a couple of cases like this. Yes.
Well, not only that, ask what is it, ISIS now who's in charge of Afghanistan or Iraq, and they're having an administrative nightmare to the point where some of them wish that they could be terrorists again.
Oh yeah, I did predict this. I was like, well, okay, now they got that, but they have to govern, and people will want water, and they will want electricity, and they will expect that things will function the same as before. So yeah, no, it's true. But
Yeah,
no, like the thing with activists is not necessarily that they don't want their cause to succeed. Is that when their cause succeed, they want more, and it eventually can end up to things that are completely unreasonable.
yeah,
Um,
that's the difference between a cause and an agenda. A
yeah,
cause when it succeeds is over. An agenda when it succeeds wants more.
yeah, exactly. But the problem is like when you create something that, like, okay, so you want gay marriage, for instance, right? Like that's a noble cause. A lot of people want to. You get funding. You create the system, and you have like a group of activists. You know each other as friends, and the money comes in, and then you do get the gay marriage, and you're like, oh shit, okay, well, it's like, what do we do next? And you're like, well, okay, like go for transgenderism, I guess. You know, like push for something else, and they push for transgenderism now, and then they get that too, and it's like, oh shit, like what do we do now? It's like, well, trans kids is a thing. It's like, okay, well, we'll push for that, right? So like you keep pushing for causes and causes and causes, but at one point it gets like unreasonable. Like you're going to ask for something that society generally doesn't want, and this is what happens with a lot of activist group and how they radicalize.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of fundraising that gets done through these kinds of causes, and take a look at how much money is collected versus how much money is actually spent for said causes, right?
Yeah.
Then you can immediately see why there's always a new thing that has to be brought in. There's always a new thing to collect money for.
That's true. So moving on to the next article. This was actually from last week, but we didn't get to talk about it. That it's just so bizarre. Like I don't understand how this can be allowed to happen. But a New York City man is convicted over gunsmithing hobby after a judge says that Second Amendment doesn't exist in this courtroom. Brooklyn man was convicted of 13 weapon charges after he had been arrested and charged in a 2022 for building his own firearms. So apparently, like, what happened is that during the pandemic, this man looked it up and found that making guns is very interesting. He was like, oh, so like I can just put these two parts together and I make a gun? Like that's cool. So he started building his guns. Now, there is no reason to believe that he is a violent individual. He never used the guns. It's just like he had like a gunsmithing hobby. And he gets to court. He gets into with this lady, and she basically says like, no, you can't use the Second Amendment as a defense here, because it doesn't exist in my courtroom. And then she tells, she also tells the jury that you must vote guilty. She doesn't basically say that jury nullification is a thing, even though it is.
Yeah, this is. I'm gonna go with Snake Dude for life in chat when he says easy appeals court win, because just the fact that bias has already been declared the moment that she suspended someone.
Oh, she didn't want that written in the court records as well.
Well, I mean, tough luck for her.
I mean,
it's gonna get inserted inside the court record anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if they did, but like if you have enough witnesses, then it doesn't matter if it's in the court records or not, right? Like the family of the guy is there. There's witnesses.
Yeah,
there's the
but
lawyer.
that's just gonna get overturned. There's no way. I mean, especially if there's no reason for him. Like the primary condition, right, is that innocence until proven guilty, and on the other side, whatever it is that happens has to happen within the scope of their constitution and its amendments. All right.
I mean,
anything else outside of that has to be argued all the way up to the Supreme Court.
I would disagree with this with one example. Like jury nullification exists, right? So like even if someone commits a crime and he is guilty,
they can choose not to punish because the crime was incorrect. Sorry, not the crime, the law was in bad faith.
Or if someone actually didn't do it and there's no evidence, the jury again can say that the person is guilty. Like
that's right. If it's also circumstantial or all consequential evidence, that's right.
Yeah. So like both things can exist, but it's not up to the judge.
But
like it's not the judge that gets to say, the
that's
Second
exactly
Amendment.
Right. The judge is not allowed to give or I should say instructions that can countermand that. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna get overturned. That guy is getting put through some legal hell, and he's probably gonna go through a bunch of confiscations for absolutely nothing.
Well, apparently, like, listen to this. When the verdict was read, his mom started crying in the back and said, "Vino, please comfort your mother." Vargas continues saying that Taylor also turned around to his mother after the jury was done. He said to Mom, "God bless you, Mom." Taylor is scheduled to be sentenced on May 13th and appear in front of the judge. Will likely make an example out of him to send a message to others who might consider building their own firearms in New York. According to Vargas, he could be facing between 10 and 18 years in prison.
Wow.
Jesus.
Firearms laws are really that strict in New York State?
I guess. But like the thing is, as you say, yeah, he will go through an appeal. But have you ever heard the phrase, the process is the punishment?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's getting put through administrative hell, like legal administrative hell.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna have to put up money for bond. That's money he's never gonna be able to get back again. And like it's just what bullshit? What
Can you
absolute
can you can
bullshit?
you sue the judge personally though?
What?
Can you sue the judge personally in the United States? Like not the.
No, judges have qualified immunity unless there's
That is
proven
that.
malfeasance.
Yeah, like in some countries you can actually sue the judge personally, like in some cases. But
Yeah,
like
I don't think that would pass in the
they
U.S.
would have to behave. They would have to behave in a way that is completely unreasonable. Like in this situation where they can just
Yeah,
say,
it would
yeah,
have to be egregious. Like they catch an email that said, "Oh yeah, well this statute says, he should be going free," and then they say, "Fuck it, we'll charge him anyway."
exactly,
Like,
exactly. I mean, this is
proven malfeasance would definitely get that shit
yeah, but
wrecked.
this is exactly the case here. Like they're basically saying, well, hold on a little bit, like the Second Amendment. Then she's like, the Second Amendment does not exist in this dojo. It's like,
Yeah, I'm not a legal expert, so I'd be curious to see how far that actually goes. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see for the sentencing on the 13th to be able to get the next info.
no,
That's if it's
I do
not
think
delayed.
I do think he's going to prison, but like for a while until he gets it overturned. So
Yeah, but the process is the punishment.
process is this punishment. Yes. Let's see what else we got.
Yeah, hit me with the next one.
Should we talk about? Oh, this is the one before we go into Helldivers and Sony.
Oh,
Democrats
Helldivers, oh shit.
Democrats reject amendment to require informing people if they're eating bugs. The Senator Tony Westrom, the Senator Tony Westrom, puts forward an amendment that would require food to be labeled if it contains either insects produced or lab-grown meat. However, the Democrats in Minnesota Senate voted down an amendment that would have required the food to contain bugs or cell-cultured product to be labeled as such.
Yeah.
Um,
It's this legislation that's been tried, versions of this have been tried in a lot of states over time. But
Yeah.
I'll say this much, if you're worried about bugs in your food, you should see what the FDA already approves in the United States as acceptable processing in agriculture.
Well, I can explain it, right? So it's part of the environmentalist movement, the idea that cows, they produce carbon dioxide, so they're not sustainable. And as
Yeah.
such, people should either go vegan, but they realize, oh, well, fuck, like, that's not sustainable either. Like, some people can tolerate the vegan diet, but other people just die from anemia, not good. So let's replace it with crickets, right? And when they say crickets...
Oh, cricket wheat.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And it's...
Or cricket flour.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, they don't actually mean that you're going to eat the cricket itself. They mean like they're making it to a paste or a flour and you're going to eat it like that.
Yeah,
And,
the desiccated husk.
yeah, and
Yeah.
this is where, like, the idea of, like, I will not eat the bugs, I will not sleep into the pod comes from, right? It's the idea that, no, like, this is the meaning. The way it's being presented is the meaning. So most people just don't want to do it. And
Don't blame them.
it's an ideological thing, part of the culture where now, like, there's an app in Germany, it came out, and it does literally this. Like, it will tell you if the food contains bugs or not. And you see, like, some Germans just go ballistic over this, like, they go insane, ridiculing and attacking people using the app. And it's like, you wouldn't attack or ridicule someone that looks like how much gluten is in their food, or they're looking at, oh, is there anything that's chemicals, like preservatives
Yeah.
or shit. But like, if
Like
they
let's
look
say
for
let's say for an example that there's like a product, like you take any franchise product and they have a batch number for each batch.
Yeah.
And there's a message online that says like we know this batch used say a different type of breading and the batch is less superior or it's just worse or even hell maybe it's carcinogenic. You wouldn't blame that person for going through like a box and looking to make sure that it doesn't have batch 2501 or whatever
yeah,
the
of
hell,
course.
right?
Or like the
No,
train,
it's the same thing. People are allowed to choose what the hell they want to put in their goddamn body.
or the chemicals that dropped in East Palestine, right? Like, you wouldn't
Yeah.
blame someone that goes like, okay, well, I'm not going to get anything that's coming from the crops of East Palestine for the next 5 years because of the chemicals. Like, sure, the person may be a little weird, but like, you're not going to attack him just for going in the supermarket and checking to see if it's from that batch, as you said.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. Given what we know has been going on in goddamn Ukraine, I wouldn't want anything made with Ukrainian wheat for the next 5 or 6 years.
Probably, yeah. So
Like-
no, like, you're right. There is like a different conversation to be had. we have been eating bugs for quite a while. Like
Yes.
food colorants, for instance, like red
Oh,
colored
yes.
food comes from a bug. So like the app gives false positives in the way that people think, oh, this is part of like the environmentalist agenda, like I'm going to eat the cricket flour, but instead it's just a cupcake that's red colored because they use like the same substance that has been used for like last 20 years.
Yeah, or like they also use insect chitin. They grind it down for certain types of like collagenic materials, like what they call binding agents as well.
Yeah.
So there's actually a lot of products that have been already classically made from bug parts that people just don't really realize. It's
So
disgusting, but here we are.
yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of conversation to be had, but I'm always for the idea that the customer should know what they're buying.
Informed consent, you're damn right.
Informed consent. Yeah, like I don't care about the ideology or anything. Like if you want to eat the bugs, eat the bugs. If you want to eat the soy, eat the soy. But like know
Yep.
that you're eating the soy and the bugs.
If you're comfortable with it and you know it's carcinogenic and someone told you it's carcinogenic and you want to put it in your body, it's your goddamn choice as a free person on earth.
I mean, we do that with smoking, right? Like people know that smoking is bad, and they
Yeah.
smoke anyway, right?
And just do it away from other people who don't want to smoke. Like my friends smoke cigarettes and I choose to be able to to stand next to them because I just don't give a fuck, right? But other people who maybe don't want to risk the like cancer or whatever, well, it's also their choice to be free of it. So you just, take a couple of steps back like a respectable person.
Yeah, the only question is like, well, how do you feel about drugs then? And the answer is like, people who go through drug withdrawal, they can be violent and aggressive and attack others. So that's
Yep.
why they're banned. Like and it's also the fact like some drugs are irreversible. Like if you smoke, you can give up smoking. It's hard, but like there are
Mhm.
people who do it. But if you take a drug which like destroys or inhibits your neurons and just fries your brain, then you're going to become a vegetable for society. So I do understand why drugs are banned, even if you have
Yeah,
like
that
informed
or
consent.
like if you're going to allow drugs to be legal, make sure that the goddamn right programs for support for these people exist, right? Because addiction is a real goddamn problem. Addiction leads to a lot of death and a lot of despair.
Yeah. So I just got this from a subscriber. It says that the absolutely wild article from Politico this morning admitting that pro-Palestine protests are funded by the deep state, Gates, Soros, Rockefeller, and Pritzker.
The Rothschilds.
The Rothschild. Yeah, I got like a couple of reasons on why this could be. Like I could hypothesize. Why this could be-
Hypothesis?
hypothesis, yeah. The funding for these students could have existed way before this year, and they just went rogue. Like this is one possibility. Another possibility is that with the left, the issue is never the issue, and we talked about this in the previous week. The point of the protest is not to accomplish anything. Like you're not going to
Yeah.
change the conflict in the Middle East by protesting in front of an American university.
Yeah, that's one of the.
Yeah,
Sorry,
what
go
you
ahead.
are going to accomplish is you're going to meet people, you're going to form networks, you're going to learn how to protest, right? So like this is the thing that someone who founds activists would want to do. Like, it's why are you founding activists? Well, you're finding activists in order to do activism, right? So like this could be genuinely like boot camp training for them. So this is why I think that they are funding these protests. Because again, like they're harmless, right? Like they're not doing any damage at the end of the day, unless you happen to study at that university. They're not changing the situation in the Middle East, but again, like they are creating a network of friends and alliances. They are shaking hands. They are meeting people.
Yeah, they're
have,
creating a network. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're getting time and space in the industry, right? Because like any person who's done like conventions or done consulting knows that the more time you spend doing consulting, the more people you're exposed to, especially if you do the whole convention run, right? It's about who
Oh,
you know
God.
after that.
Yeah. Sounds so horrible. I would hate doing it. Holy shit! Like just meeting all these arrogant pricks.
It's hard on the soul, dude. I did it for 10 years. It's hard on the soul.
This is literally what the World Economic Forum is about, right? And COP 20. I'm willing to bet. Like I saw Biden falling asleep at one of these environmentalist meetings where they all take their private jets and their 4x4 motorcades and they talk about the environment. And it's like, well, why
Yep.
don't they have a Skype meeting? And it's because they care about making connections, making friends, networking. It's why they go there. They don't give a shit about like listening. It's the same panels every time. You know, it's like, oh yes, the carbon is rising, the planet is burning. Oh, horrible, horrible. More taxes, more government. They don't go to
Yeah.
hear that because they already heard it. But they do go to shake hands with the German prime minister, with the Canadian prime minister. Like that's why they're there to meet the CEO of big corporations.
Yeah. The wheeling and dealing is like half as important as the actual meeting is. And
Yeah.
hey, Chris TK and chat, what's up?
There's something that happened just now. Apparently, Grooms has been accused by a Helldivers moderator for sexually assaulting many people. Falsely
Wait,
claimed
what?
I sent people to attack their community managers and family. He is
Like
not far right, blah blah blah.
Grumps?
Helldivers and Pile, this is not okay. Your community team is out of control. Why isn't Grum suing this individual? Is what I want to know.
Well, I mean, it takes a while for a lawsuit to even get reviewed and drafted, right? If you're going to be doing proper review before
No,
you
but like
start up.
this is but this isn't like a random cheeky little shit on Twitter. Like this is a person that we know. Like it's a Helldivers moderator, right? Like, they have a contract and everything. They work for a big company. That they're
No
saying,
kidding.
yeah, they're saying that a public person, which is Grooms, is sexually assaulting many people, which is
Okay, be careful, man.
yeah.
Just because he's a Discord mod, he's not necessarily an employee. He could just be a Discord mod. You take a look at his roles, he doesn't have a staff role.
Hmm.
So this guy just could be a dude that's talking out of his ass.
I even so, like you can find out who
Yeah,
he
it's
is.
still nasty. That's still nasty. Like
He's
that's
still in
straight
an
up what it
official
is.
position of somewhat, right? So like you can sue this person for slander.
Libel.
Libel.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
you can
written.
sue him
It's
for
written.
libel.
So yeah,
You would definitely have a case there.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I would even say if he's being accused of out of nowhere, and then this is like actual stuff that he means, that could be even aggravated.
Yeah. It's
Because I
like,
mean, dude could actually get in a lot of trouble.
and apparently he bans anyone that defends Grooms, right? So like he labels the accusation as like Grooms is sexually assaulting many people, and then if you go there and you say no, that's not true, you get banned.
Yikes.
That's
Community moderators, man.
that,
The Jannies that do it for free.
they do it for free. Well, apparently, I don't know why Groups doesn't want to press charges. There have been cases where people have pressed charges, and one, like the Quartering,
Yeah,
has
but I
pressed
mean,
several charges.
if this is just some stupid kid in the corner or whatever, and like he puts in like say a dozen or so hours of legal people looking over documents, so he pays 12 hours times whatever legal fee, and then this guy here, all he has to do is retract, post in a one paragraph public apology, and then he gets to keep his job, and Grooms is out like $12,000. That's why it's got to you gotta have real deal to bring the lawyers into it, because lawyers are fucking expensive, man.
Yeah, but the thing with Grooms is that he has his own company. I'm pretty sure he already has his own lawyers. But secondly,
Oh
he
yeah,
can just crowdfund. Like if
yeah,
you
and
crowdfund, then it's like I want to sue the living shit out of this guy from the Helldivers moderator community team. Like
yeah. If he's got a company, the company lawyers, unless he is attached to the corporate entity, the company lawyers can't act in his favor or in his behest unless he hires them.
Mm.
Right? Because the individual is different than the corporation, and to have one crossing over to the other is actually a form of fraud.
Isn't it possible though? Like you can make the
Or is it
argument that by
embezzlement?
attacking
Whatever.
you, the CEO of the company, it actually tarnishes the prestige of the company too.
Yep, that's why I say if he's got to be attached to it somehow. So if it's really him, like he is like the sole CEO or whatever, yeah, he could come down on them with a pretty big hammer. But is it worth the money? Like, does this person
Oh,
have a
it's worth
net
the
worth
publicity
bashing?
for sure. Like at this point, that man, I don't know what they do, what they put in the water of these community managers. It's not just the one from Helldivers or Sony. That like most AAA games have the most toxic, disturbing, deranged community managers that I have seen in my fucking life. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if you study anatomy, but like human beings have like different organs. Like you got your stomach, which is to digest food, and you got your kidney, which is to secrete the waste. But
I'm getting a biology lesson. All
yeah,
right.
but like these community managers have a different organ that even people that study anatomy haven't discovered. And in this organ, they store all the malice, all of the bile and disdain that they have for the gamer community. You need a different organ to store all of that. There is no other explanation.
The power trip gland.
Probably. But like, dude, if you see the leaks that came out from the community manager servers, like apparently there are servers where all the community managers from various AAA companies gather, and it's probably how they network and they promote each other and they shake hands and shit.
And they inform each other of behaviors that are problematic. Yes.
Yeah. And apparently, like, you need to be the how should I put it? Lib shit. Okay, lib shit. Like, not even woke. Like that type of ideology that is so extreme, that is so fringe, that is so radical, that even most leftists, they look at it and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know? You need to be like that in order to be a community manager, and you need to be active. Like, you can't just ignore stuff. Like, you need to say the thing. Like, you need to pretend that Stellar Blade existing is an affront to humanity. Like the Geneva Convention should ban the jiggle physics from that game because it's a crime against nature.
Yeah, a lot of community managers that I've been seeing not only have like they not only believe it, but they broadcast it. Or even if they don't believe it, they're willing to broadcast it loudly.
Like they are genuinely the problem in most gaming communities. Like what they do, like Grooms did this entire reveal of the Battletech community manager and how they took over Reddit and how they took over Discord. And it's literally like that. Like, they take over, they bring their mods from Sig Marxism. It was like a very far left, communist oriented Warhammer 40k subgroup, which barely had any traffic. But they brought their moderators from there, got into Battletech, started saying that these are the correct politics. So now instead of talking about Warhammer, people are talking about Drumpf and the wall and immigration. And if you disagree with them, they just start banning. Ban. And all of a sudden, traffic goes down. Barely any people even go to the Warhammer 40k subreddit. And the ones that do are all left.
I was a member of that subreddit for a long time.
Oh, that
damn time. I was there
what happened?
Yeah, I went through the entire thing that you described, and the whole takeover was something else.
And my solution for this is to tell people, look, when it's happening, just leave. Like, they cannot manage a community. They cannot be community managers without a community. So when the community you're in gets taken over by these chicky little shits, just leave.
Yeah. Follow the people who made the community special.
Exactly.
Those people usually show themselves very prominently. If they start, like, if you see that they stop posting in the community, they're usually the first to know, and there's a reason why.
Yep. But like, the idea is, like, do not allow them to use you in order to further the reach of the community. Because it's one thing when you're in a community of 100,000 people, right, and you're managing that community, it gives you some prestige, versus when you're managing a community of 100.
Yeah, damn right.
And what they probably hate the most is if fan communities are bigger than their actual communities. I mean, that would be a red flag, right? So, like, you have the Battletech community, which is the official Discord, and it's got like 1,000 people in it. And then you have like the Battletech community that's a fan community, and it's got like 10,000 people. Like, that would just be a red flag.
Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, engagement envy is a real problem. So,
dude, can you imagine?
We've seen communities torn down for less.
Can you imagine if the game I'm making, like, my Discord server would have like 2,000 people in it, and there would be like a fan Discord server that has like 10,000? Like, I would feel very weird. I would be like, what the fuck am I doing wrong?
Yeah, it's like, what's missing in this community?
Yeah, like, literally,
over there.
American Outlier, thank you for the 10 memberships. And also, he says, hi V. 10. Hope all is good. Been busy with my script. He is making a manga with Ushikushi ladies.
Ooh, yeah. We can't, unfortunately, we can't show that on this Christian YouTube.
Yes. To be fair, though, YouTube has cracked down on the violence as well. Like, there were some people, I forgot the Nuka, I think. Like, they were just poking each other with mops and broomsticks, and YouTube had to demonetize those videos.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's always the big pendulum swing, right?
Yeah.
There's something new, then there's always a big dramatic swing to one direction, and then there's an adjustment period as they realize how stupid they were.
Well, there's actually another thing we should talk about that I had saved it for this week as well.
That
A new statistic came in, and people are very happy with it, and they're congratulating each other. Apparently, according to The Economist, sex and nudity in movies has decreased by 40%. Movies with no sexual content has increased to 20% per year to 50%. And people are
oh,
cheering about this, right? Let me show you the thing. And my take on this was like, yeah, the problem with this, like why sex and nudity is gone from most movies, is mostly due to censorship. It's not like the directors said one day, hey, we're just going to stop providing fan service. No, it's like, oh, this movie has to sell in China. Well, if the movie has to sell in China, we can't have any naked scenes in it. Oh, Game
that's
of
right.
Thrones is very popular, but like feminists are now complaining that we have too many naked scenes. Now we gotta censor. Oh, Marvel is really popular with Black Widow, but now the actress, after making millions of dollars and getting famous by showing her ass in a skin tight suit, she says that she doesn't want to be sexualized anymore. So we gotta respect her wishes. This is the reason why you don't see sex in movies. Now, if you look at it from the way, oh, this is a grassroots society, and all of a sudden Americans found their values, that's bullshit, because OnlyFans is insanely popular, right? So now you don't have like the lewdness on the big screen, but congratulations, your daughter can now probably start an OnlyFans account and then try to seduce your neighbor's son into paying her money online so that he can see nudes of your daughter. Like, is this a more moral society than it used to be 20 years ago?
No, I mean the whole connection between like sex and nudity and morality, right? It's easy for the people who want to try to cheer this as a victory because they want to try to make people believe that all sex is pornography,
Yeah.
right? And they like you see on your screen right there, no more pointless sex scenes. Pointless sex is in pornography, right? And that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're just talking about telling a story that has different types of emotional high points, right? Being able to communicate different types of emotions. Just because all of these censors have probably never experienced love or passion in their entire lives, like their entire joyless, hopeless, empty lives, that they can't understand or fathom why some people might want to see a moment of tenderness or a moment of like vulnerability between characters shouldn't mean that we have to ban it from an entire medium. And like, just take a look at this, right? They say sex in movies has decreased by almost 40%. Well, how much has the like general profit margin of movies dropped in the
Yeah,
last few
that's
years?
what I also
I'd say
said. Yeah.
about fucking 40% too,
40%,
right?
yeah. But the thing is, like, they will say, oh, fan service in anime is pointless. And it's like, no, most of the time it's comedic in nature. Like, anime doesn't have sex almost. Like, if you look at Naruto, you look at Dragon Ball, you look at like My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
There's no sex in them. Now, if you look at American TV shows with teenagers, there's almost always sex in them. But
Well, I
in
mean, you
anime,
take a look. It's just that fan service comes in different ways, and
yeah,
like you when you're doing manga or when you're just doing art in general, you only have so many like angles in the medium to attract an eye, and some people they don't mind having that kind of an experience tickled when they're looking at something, right? Because even in My Hero Academia, yeah, whatever it is there, sorry, I know it in the Japanese name. But like, you take a look at Mirko. You're telling me that some of the angles that they put into the manga aren't directly there for fan service, right? There's going to be fan
yeah,
service, and that's okay
and the
because
thing
you
is,
turn the page, the fan service ain't there anymore,
yeah,
right?
and the thing is, like, what if some people just don't want pornography? Like, this is what mindfucks them. It's like, okay, maybe someone just doesn't want to look at porn. Like, we know where to find porn, that's fine. But like, we don't want to see porn. We want to see some lewdness or fan service that's comedical in nature.
Hey,
Like,
Ciro, for £2 there, you got a base wife, man. Make sure that you keep her close.
yeah, no, my wife as well, like, doesn't understand like what's wrong with fan service. And you got fan service in Marvel for women as well. Like when Thor appears shirtless. Like, why is Thor shirtless in Marvel?
Because it attracts the eye. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I'm
what's
gonna
wrong with
like
that?
straight up say it. Thor shirtless, right, is appreciated as much by men as it would be by women.
Yeah.
And I'm certain that there are some women who would be pearl clutchy and oh my god, why can't he? Why are they doing that? Just as much as there would be some men that would feel vulnerable or maybe a little bit like dick shamed about it because I mean Chris Hemsworth has an incredible fucking body and like look at the state that he's in.
To be honest,
Like holy shit,
I
dude, that
actually
guy's
hated in the I think it was the Avengers, the last war or whatever, Endgame, where
yeah
they made Thor into this chubby guy that likes to bully little
yeah
kids on
yeah. He's
Xbox. I
shit
really hated
talking on
that.
Xbox.
Yeah, I really hated that. It's like, and the reason they did it was to demasculinize the character so Captain Marvel can take his place. Because if you look at Captain
Yep.
Marvel, she is literally Thor. Like she's
Oh
this.
man, can I rant about this for a second,
Go
V?
on, go on.
Oh man. Thor, so you take a look at the moment Thor went into the Xbox thing, right?
Yeah.
That is the big mark of the enshittification of his character.
Shittification.
After that point, right? Then we went into Love and Thunder, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Thor went from being one of the the keystone cinematic universe units, right? Like from I like this drink, another, and he fucking crashes it, right? To have that big gravity presence
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
went to a shit talker on Xbox, and then basically just a slapstick show in Love and Thunder. They dropped his character off the face of a cliff. One of the characters, one of the deepest and most like multitudinal fucking stories of all of the Marvel United Universe, even outside of the cinematic. They could have went into just Thor for 1,000 fucking movies, and they would still have content left over to keep going.
The
And
thing
they
is,
took that shit and they
yeah,
gave us what we have now. Like,
no,
calm the fuck on,
you're
man.
absolutely right. I think that Thor is literally what drove women into comic books. Because when I grew up, if you read comic books, most women would come up to you and would be like, "When are you going to grow up? Comic
Thor and
books are for
Wolverine.
children." Right, Thor and Wolverine, yeah. But like Thor comes out, and all the women go there. It's like, oh my god, Thor, yeah, like it's so. And you look at why was it popular? Like, not only is he good looking, he's got a perfect body, but like he's this guy that, as you said, he's got presence. Doesn't shy away from a fight, is very courageous, but he's also kind of stupid. He's kind of like a doofus. Like if you're a woman, you can tame him, and that was like
Yeah, I can fix him.
yeah, literally, like you can fix him, right? Like he's not mean spirited, but like he's about honor. He's about like values. Like once he falls in love with a woman, he just cares about that woman. Like he
Yeah.
could have all the women he wants, but he's not a womanizer, right? So you think,
Any
yeah, you think this.
any character with a growth arc gets neutered
Yeah,
after a certain year in the entire MCU cinematic thing, right?
exactly. But
It's
but like
it's just
and it's
incredible.
only the men. Like the women don't get neutered. But anyway, so
No, they get empowered, but without any effort whatsoever.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
they jump into the Mary Sue category pretty fucking hard.
So the thing with Thor is that he gets like this, and at this point, no woman finds him attractive. Like I actually spoke with women that like Thor, and it's like, well, I don't like the character anymore, and it's like, why?
They
It's
turned
like,
him into a juvenile. Like, come
yeah,
on.
yeah, like it's not a growth of the character, it's a degrowth. Like, and by the way, like this is fine. Like you can have like an arc, like a character arc, like the falling of a hero or whatever. But don't
Yeah.
expect people to keep paying and see the movie if that's the case.
Yeah, especially like they could have handled. I understand why they felt that he had to have a dramatic shift, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
if you're
yeah.
playing Nikke, the whole mind shift thing, right? But there are better ways to handle it than to basically humiliate a character in a way which
It
they
is
can't really
humiliating.
come back from,
It
right?
is humiliating, and it's not just him. It's with Loki as well. Like Loki used to be
Oh
this
yeah,
this character that had huge presence, right? Like he was evil, but like you kind of get why he's evil. So again, you can fix him thing. But like he was very powerful, and then they make Loki the TV show, and he gets kicked in the balls by a random woman, and it's like
multiple times, five
multiple
times in a row.
really. And it's like,
Yep.
well, yeah, like again, very humiliating for the character. Like, why do you keep doing this?
Yeah, Loki is another one that I had an issue with because the actor whose name is escaping me right now because I'm really bad with actor names. He has such a handle on that character. Take a look at the way that character was acted in the Avengers and also in the oh my god, the one where they destroy the name of the movie where they destroy the Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Right? even just the way that he handles the initial meeting between like Thor, Doctor Strange, and Loki, right? Just like the whole thing, I've been falling for 20 minutes, like
Yeah.
he can take the entire scene, put something funny into it, but still give it enough grip that you're not defusing the tension of the scene
Yeah, he
despite
was
adding
amazing.
comedy to it, right?
Really great actor, yeah.
Yeah, he carries the energy rather than interrupting the flow. And very few actors can really get into a character to the point where they can just work with it that way. Like for an example, another character that I find really adds into that is Ledger's Joker,
Yeah.
right? He can add a funny moment without losing any of the
The
just the
tension,
innate
yeah.
terror that he puts
Yeah.
into the scene.
No, I know what you mean. But like the reason they had to destroy these characters, unironically, is because they couldn't make strong female characters. Like
No,
they couldn't make Captain Marvel, so they had to destroy Thor so that Captain Marvel replaces Thor. Like she's literally Thor. Like she just goes there, is hyper violent, hyper aggressive, but she doesn't have like the same sense of honor, the same thing that makes Thor cool. Doesn't
and
have this.
remember, not just that she's replacing Thor, but there was also female Thor
Oh, right.
in
Well,
Love and Thunder.
Walking Corpse for $5 says, "Listen, only women are people. Men are just props." That is
But
true. Like this is how they wrote Game of Thrones in the last seasons. Where it's like the characters were just props. Like they get where they need to be. Oh, Arya Stark now needs to assassinate. Like, put the prop over there.
turn him into another face. But
Zero for £2. 2024 women can clutch their pearls. Oof.
they certainly will. Not all of them, just the ones that are noisy.
Well, this is why I keep saying legacy women and women plus. So I need to know,
New
like,
Game Plus in the wrong way, I guess, huh?
yeah. Man, can you imagine the following scenario? Okay, picture this. There is a new Harry Potter movie coming out. You're watching the trailer. It's amazing. Now think about what's happening on Twitter and what's happening on Reddit at the meltdown.
Yeah, that's not gonna fly far, man. They're gonna put some lead wings on that thing real quick.
Imagine this, right? Like it's a new movie coming out. It's got the same actors. There's no forced diversity or anything. It's like literally just a good movie. Like just like the cinematics
Yeah.
is amazing. The story is great. Just imagine the fucking meltdown that these people on Reddit
If this succeeds, like even past the because they're gonna try to suffocate this. They're gonna try to suffocate this the same way that they tried to suffocate Hogwarts Legacy, right? And like if this succeeds and it turns out to be like a big hit, that's gonna be a whole Top Gun, like a new Top Gun Maverick level of
Oh god, I
upturn.
wish
Like,
I
holy
would
shit.
see that. I wish I would fucking see that. And you know what? What if there's like even a scene in the movie that like makes fun of the progressives, like something where you got like this VTuber in the world and she's being harassed by some evil Slytherins or something. And it's just like a
But if we
Like,
want to
just-
cause a riot, just have the VTuber be Pipkin Pippa.
Anyway, right. Speaking of entertainment, we need to go back to the last thing that happened this week. I mean, this is actually pretty major. Everyone knows about it at this point. So, Helldivers, one of the best AA games that I've played recently, and I even shilled it, comes out and says, actually, you need a PlayStation Network account. Like something that nobody would think about as a problem 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like 6 months ago, if this would have happened, no one would have cared. But now gamers have risen. They have awoke.
Well, we know one thing for sure, or we know many things for sure. The cross-platform system works perfectly fine without PlayStation Network being involved. The game and its original statement from Sony also said that connecting to PlayStation Network was optional and not required in order to continue playing.
Yeah.
And they have retroactively changed this agreement and are also forcing some pretty severe data collection for a network which has it suffers there are more leaks on that network than I've got an irrigation pipe in the back for my little garden. There are less holes in that thing.
I want to show
than their
you a
security.
picture which is going to speak 1,000 words. Hold on, let me see if I saved it. Here we go. This is very subarashi. Very very subarashi. So some people, depending on where you're at, I don't know why this is even. I don't even know why this is a thing, but like if you're in
Just
certain,
create an account, bro. Just submit your iris scan and your DNA profile.
Oh yeah, you know, like, do you think like PlayStation can tell you if you're a cock? It's like, oh well, you know, your wife's boyfriend also submitted his DNA, and we think that he is the father.
Like, and look at this shit, V. Take a look at that screenshot. Take a look at that screenshot.
Yeah.
That's step 3. That's step fucking 3. There's 7 steps in that verification. Like, what's next? Drink verification can to continue. Like, what at what point is there a limit on this? And they want the facial scan for your facial profile for God knows what. They want your ID, and we already know that they suffer breaches and are extremely prone to saying their breaches. Like they're supposed to notify people when a breach happens,
Yeah.
and their average time is something like 5.5 months after the fact.
But by the way, there are porn sites that you can go and you don't have to submit all this information.
Yeah. And let's compound this on top of all this other nonsense. Steam is available in over 150 countries. PSN is available in only like around 60 something to 90 something countries. So what happens to everyone that purchased their version,
can't play it.
say,
They can't fucking
in Albania
play it.
or something, right?
They can't play it. And I want to show you something else. Like, this was even more hilarious. I showed you before, but now I'll show it to the chat.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find the picture.
Well, while you're loading it up there, Modiversity's got a good point there. PSN is why his and why a bunch of other people's accounts are monitored, right?
Oh yeah,
Because they've actually had these kinds of data breaches before. We know that they don't even take like I would say, yeah, they take the basic steps to have security, but they've got big problems. All right.
Yeah, and the community manager actually says why they're doing it. So one of the community managers, I assume they haven't been briefed or some shit, but they're basically coming out and saying, "Oh, we knew about this for 6 months now, but like it's important so that we can ban you." Shit,
Yeah, that was a whole other ball game there. Like when they started saying it's going to make it easier for us to do content control, which we know why, right? Because if you're connected to the PlayStation Network and you use the in-game microphone, instead of using the Steam-based VoIP or the Steam service, is going to go to the PSN service instead, or at least provide something to PSN that it requires in order to do content moderation, which is likely going to be AI listening, which they've recently announced that was possible via the PlayStation services anyway.
Yeah.
So all of this is just bad news top to bottom.
So look at this, right? The chat. This is beautiful. These are the countries that cannot make a PSN account, and you got a lot of countries that are very rich and vibrant in diversity. What does PlayStation mean by this? But like there is this country here that's like completely censored. Like it's a country that only has hearts.
The Niger, yes.
It's a Niger.
Yep. There's some people who would actually get up in arms about the country's name.
Yeah. Like Nigeria is fine, but Nigeria. Do you know it also has 2 G's in it? Oh, I'm at every single Olympics. Every single Olympics, you have some imbecile American that sees the representative from Niger.
It's a meme on Reddit every time there's an Olympics.
It's like why didn't no, that's the name of the country. But yes, if you are a proud member of Niger, you cannot play Helldivers.
Yep. How, as the Japanese say, how unfortunate. Unlucky.
Tangent, can I sponsor any keys for your game? What do you mean? Like,
he wants to pre-buy licenses so that you can give out to your community.
Oh.
When you put it on Steam, you'll be able to generate free keys.
Man, yeah. like I don't know why Steam is harassing me for it. Like everyone else gets to make a store page before releasing the game, but Steam wants to make sure that my game is like they want to play it first. They want to play
They
my
want to
game.
be they want to be extra sure, V.
Extra sure, yes. Oh God. So I need to finish my game before I can.
Extra sure. Yeah.
While playing on
Like, if-
PC, you will get less crashes if you turn cross-platform matchmaking off.
Yes, that is true. I run with a 4 group, and yes, you get a lot less crashes when you have like the whole crosshair off. Yes.
And this is even better. Sad Cabbage, which has a avatar of a cabbage which is sad, and starts the phrase with "I'm from Latvia." It's like, yes, that sounds sad. I can tell you that PSN is a mess. They still sell PlayStations here, but you cannot select Latvia from the list of countries.
Yep.
Okay, so I got like this one is from I don't know who Peels that is. I think he's the CEO. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
Pilestedt. Yeah, Pilestedt is the CEO of the company that makes like the actual producers of
I
Helldivers.
noticed that he's struggling with his own community managers. Like, he comes out, he makes like some statements that are common sense. It's like, ouch, right in the reviews, like, we're really sorry about this, but we're going to do our best to still make the best game ever. You know, like he's got like these common sense takes that if it was just this, like, it wouldn't be pouring gasoline over the fire. And then you have his community managers. If you don't like it, don't go get the bad review and stop purchasing our game, you fucking bigot.
Oh, that's a hard. He's gonna wish he did not put that final paragraph in there, because now if there is an actual class action lawsuit that comes out, that becomes factual or material evidence. Like the fact that they knew that it was absolutely mandatory and the whole thing was announced that it was going to be
like
optional.
the community managers do. But like the CEO as well, right? Like, is this the moment to tweet, "What, you guys don't have phones"? On a serious note, it's like, no, CEO, you can't do this joke.
Well, that means that they sold the game to all sorts of countries, because they could have put a region lock on it.
Yes.
Right? They have the controls built into Steam to be able to say you cannot sell to these countries based on the third-party EULA that you have to sign and the service that you have to agree to in the game. Ubisoft already does it on all sorts of titles. So the mechanism already exists.
Yeah.
Which means that they opted for greed rather than need, and that is not a good look, man.
So, on a serious note, we are talking solutions with Sony, especially for non-PSN countries. Your voice has been heard, and I'm doing everything I can to speak for the community, but I don't have the final. Why are you acting all blameless? Like, you should have known for probably years that PSN would be a requirement, and I bet it was your call that it would not be enforced in the beginning to help with server load.
Isaac in that one there, I don't like his tone on that, where he's not acting blameless. He's just communicating in a neutral tone to inform,
let me just finish. Let me finish the.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Because the chat doesn't know. I do have a part to play. I'm not blameless. It was my decision to disable account linking at launch so that players could play the game. I did not ensure players were aware of the requirements, and we did not talk about it long enough. We knew for about 6 months before the launch. Holy shit.
6 months before launch. So that's before the beta opened to the public.
Right?
So that means that the beta was open, right? Basically what we're all playing right now. The early access was open for a number of months, and they knew 6 months before the beta. All right, so this was not news. This didn't happen after launch. This was predicated before the launch was made public.
To be honest, Sony is responsible for the sale of the product because they're the publisher.
Yeah, they make it easy to access the market, and in some cases may provide funds, but they are not necessarily. It depends on the agreement they have between the publisher and.
But usually it's
and
the
developer.
publisher, right? Like the publisher is the one that decides which countries get to be sold and etc. Right? Like
yeah, they provide access to the market.
Like the
via
developer is the one that
legal
makes the game, right? Like he makes the game, he creates the product and then gives it to the publisher, and the publisher then distributes it. So yeah, no, like Sony is responsible for.
Again, it depends on the game, right? Sony sometimes the agreement could be Sony has the entire control and the reins. They only receive the product and they mandate the product to be updated a certain amount of times. As much as it could be that Sony only gives them the endpoint to the market, like like Oceania, like Asia, Europe, and all of that, and then they can do their own sales. We don't know the actual penned agreement between the two companies, right? That part's opaque, right? Just like how you and your publisher have an NDA on who handles what, the same thing will apply with these guys. So there
Oh
is a part
God.
of this that we're not 100% sure of. But what does matter is that they knew and it was presented as A and then became B after the fact. That's a retroactive change to an agreement, and
Dude,
that's
this
going to
is
cause them a lot of legal
this is
problems.
this is even worse, like from a market standpoint, right? So like he says you knew for 6 months, and you got this guy.
Yeah,
PlayStation Network isn't supported by my company. What do I do? And the
yeah.
CEO
So
comes up.
imagine,
I don't
so
know.
yeah, that picture is as well as a whole other thing that they shouldn't have allowed him to post. If he has a legal department, they're not doing their job right now because we just spoke about the problem of like the
I,
change happening in the agreement. Let's take a look at it from the sales, right? They knew before the launch that PSN is going to be a requirement and that it is not allowed or not able to run in these countries because of reasons. There could be, like I explained before we had the call, there could be all sorts of reasons for it, from way data encryption works to different types of requirements for communication, or just straight up the fact that the country might not have an internet stable enough to be able to run it for them to be able to guarantee a service. For whatever reason, those countries aren't available, and any game that runs on those service is not allowed to be sold in those countries. So they knew that it was going to be like a requirement. And instead of locking it down, they chose to take the money from those countries,
well, one of the reasons a
right?
lot of
That's
people,
that's a
yeah,
problem.
a lot of people are pissed off because we are entering the age of post-purchase censorship, and it started with Skullgirls, I believe, where they started censoring the box art, like the concept art for the game. And this was like years after the game is released. So like you're getting like this day 10,000 censorship patch, whether you like it or not. And it's not like people genuinely care about the concept art, because obviously like you can find it on Google
Yeah.
if you want.
An irrevocable censorship patch.
Yeah, an
You can't
irrevocable
choose
censorship
the
patch.
back
Yeah,
roll.
and it's like the principle of it, right? Like you
Yeah.
advertise the product, I bought it. It's been a long time. Why are you doing this? Right? And now you have like all these games like Stellar Blade and many others where they're advertising it one way, and then they're censoring after you're purchasing it. And it's not
Hmm.
why they're doing it or anything like that. It's the principle of it. And I'm
It's
noticing that more and more companies are trying to get away with this shit. Like they notice that the ESG, because this is ESG, like they're outright saying this is about inclusivity. Like we want
yeah.
an inclusive community, and we need you to sign up to PlayStation Network so we can monitor you with AI, and we can ban you if you say the shit we don't like.
If
Um,
you want worse things to be acceptable in the future, you have to create a slippery slope with low hanging fruit.
exactly. Yes. So basically, they're realizing, okay, well, gamers don't like to be censored. Gamers don't like to be listened into. So what we do is we sell the product, wait like 30, 60 days until they can't get refunds, and then we put the ESG in.
Yep. That
And
is that is what is pretty much happening here. I mean,
and gamers are telling them to fuck off.
yep.
Apparently,
They're trying to make it an easy victory by masking the outrage and saying, "Oh, it's a bunch of porn coomers or whatever,"
yeah.
right? But the reality is that it's the principle, not the material,
Yeah.
right? It's easy to try to tarnish the principle by shitting on the material and saying, "Ah, it's just because you want to see, bouncing tits and like shapely asses." And I mean, like truth be told here, right? More 2B ass, more Eve ass. I'm not gonna say no to that in games. I have the male gaze. I'm not gonna say no to it. But the reality is that the point, just like when women say, like, you don't understand why we pick the bear. You don't understand why we fight the fight. The
But
point is that they're changing shit, and that as what we're supposed to be product owners, we're supposed to have rights,
well, imagine that
right?
you're
Rights
going
to have a
to
product as is and not affected by someone else's nonsense.
imagine you're going to this restaurant, right? And it's got like this beautiful steak on the menu on display, and you're sitting down on the table and you're ordering the steak. The waiter comes in with the plate. It looks absolutely delicious. It smells nice. And as you're about to eat it, the waiter comes up to you and like, "Oh, sir, so sorry, there's been a mistake. We deeply apologize." And they take away the steak, and they put in another dish without the steak. And you're like, well, what the fuck is this? You know, this is not what well, yes, but you see, most of our customers are vegan, and we live in a guilty-free society now, so we think that this is the best steak for you, and it's like, dude, like,
or
this is
even with that, like they swap your plate after you had 2 or 3 cuts of the good stuff. Like you have your goddamn ribeye, you've cut in like 2 or 3 good bites, you got your gravy on your potatoes and everything, and then they come around and they just have the spatula and they just like take your cut away, and then they put this like Beyond Beef bullshit on your plate, and they say, "Your new steak, monsieur," and then they spit on top of it before walking away like a good French.
Oh yeah,
waiter
and
would.
if you complain, they start lecturing you. It's like, do you not know about the animal cruelty? It is unfathomable about what's happening in our society. Are you one of those sick fucks that enjoy animals suffering?
We were watching you, was watching you enjoy the steak too much, we were thinking. Fucking assholes.
Oh yeah, you were enjoying the steak for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, oui.
Oui, ho, ho, ho.
No, unironically,
that's some real, I don't know, man. I know we're making fun on the French here, and c'est bon, but it's just that it's not about the porn. It's about the fact that all we ask is that the material that was put into the game be respected for what it was supposed to be, rather than what someone's opinion on what it should have been.
Even if it's about the porn, like for instance, if you go to a restaurant because you like the barbecue sauce there, right?
If you go to Hooters, you know what you're getting, right?
Yeah, or you're going to Hooters and you like the waitresses there, right? So you're going to Hooters and all of a sudden you see these fat men that look like Thor with beer bellies, and they're serving you the steak, and you're like, well, this isn't the ambiance that I wanted. And it's like, oh, but do you come for the tits? The food is great. Why do you... And it's like, why the fuck do you care? It's my money. I come for whatever I want. I chose this place because, yes, like, this was part of your marketing.
Yeah.
You literally advertised it as
with money
such.
to spend and a decision to make, you choose to spend it how you want. That's what you see is supposed to be what you get.
And by the way, about the porn, again, it's not porn. Like, some people just want lewdness, which is different than porn. Like, if it was actual porn in the game, I would probably not want it. Like, there are games like that, which I go because of that. But, like, in this case, like in Stellar Blade, right? I want to play with an ushi lady that doesn't look like some monstrosity that came out from California, fixed by the Manjo Industrial Complex.
Some people like the ass kicking and looking good while doing it trope.
And not only that, people complain about the removal of violence, right? Like, where are the people going? It's like, oh, so are you a sadistic fuck because you're upset that there is less blood in Stellar Blade? It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, I buy my game because it's rated M for mature, and there is nothing wrong with enjoying blood splatter in your game. And you have other games that are even more violent than our own Sony. Like, you got Mortal Kombat, you got Bloodborne, you got they're so fucking bad. The Last of Us 2 is violent as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, what if we want to have a game that has a gratuitous experience?
Yeah. Like why, as a mature person, you're not allowed to have the same entertainment that people used to have like 10 or 20 years ago? Like, why is that a bad thing?
You want to talk gratuitous? What about a scene with a shape-shifting bear where you engage in carnal acts of bestiality? Like,
that's not even the worst thing, because that's treated as a joke. But there is a scene where they go into my territory, or you get the Sakubasu, and you're thinking, wow, some cool energy drain scene. And she has the face of a man with the smallest titties imaginable.
You mean Mizora?
No. You go into the House of Pleasure, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, I didn't make it there. But
okay, so you got like this incubus, and the man character is absolutely great. Like, if you're a woman or a gay person and you see that character, like, perfectly sculpted, like a Greek statue. He's an incubus, so he looks the part. But
yeah, he looks like an Adonis. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can actually ask for him to transform into a woman. It looks like something that came out from California. Let me see if I can...
Oh, you got a CalArts face or what?
Oh my fucking god! Hold on, I'm trying to see if I can find it. Baldur's Gate 3. If anyone of you knows the name of the character, basically, like, the character tempts you and says, if you have sex with me, then I will allow you to progress, and you need to pass a lot of charisma checks. in order to get past, because if you don't, you get drained basically. Okay, so this is the male thing, and as you can see, it's very
Yeah, I remember that guy. I don't
Yeah.
remember the female version though.
He does have a female version in if you talk to him in dialogue. I'm just trying to
Goddamn, full 5-point harness with a freaking like a
like
wiring
that
at the top.
apparently is allowed, right? Like on the PlayStation, like that's fine. But I'm trying to find like the female version of him, and it looks just awful. Anyway, I'll probably show it to you after the stream.
Yeah, I think I found one. Oh no,
see.
maybe not. Anyway, whatever the case may be, yeah. I mean, if it's the picture that I'm looking at right now, I see.
Oh, I
exactly
found
what
it!
you
Holy
mean.
shit! Hold on. Okay, does this look like a sakubasu to you?
No, that looks like an imp. To be honest, if I were looking at that, it would be an.
Hold
imp.
on. No. I got one better from a different angle. Okay.
All right.
This is
Yeah, put that on screen.
A mistress
Oh.
of temptation.
There is no way that's not Photoshop.
No, it's in the fucking game, right? So when people talk
Put
about
that on screen, man. Put that on
when
screen.
people say Baldur's Gate 3 the bear, there are things that mortal minds should not envision. Like this is, and by the way, when I go onto the stream, when I go onto Twitch, no, not Twitch, fuck, when I go to Twitter,
Like
and I basically say it's like, okay, well, the developers of this game went out of their way to avoid the heteronormativity. Like even when it's a succubus, like they went out of the way to make.
yeah, look
and
at
then,
that
like,
face.
No,
That face, it's like they purposefully gave the task of creating the face model, like the cheeks, the ridge structure, or anything to the person with the least amount of experience.
yes.
Because
No.
look how incorrect that is.
Yeah, and basically what they're saying is like, oh, you don't understand the lore. You don't dig deep. Like this is
Oh
Raphael.
man, I understand the lore.
No, listen.
Like,
This is Raphael's lover, and Raphael is very narcissistic, so he wants to see his face in his lover. And I'm like, okay. Every single fucking time someone inserts the man jaw, you have a reason, and it's story and it's lore wise. But when it's Stellar Blade and she's naked because she's got this skin suit that's on her and it empowers her abilities, you don't like that. When it's quiet in Metal Gear Solid and she's naked because her body absorbs water, you don't accept that. You only care about the lore when it's about creating Californian monstrosities.
Yeah,
The
the
Californian
convenient
Isbuflook.
plot excuse is only valid when they use it.
Yeah.
I remember some GMs in high school that had that same kind of mentality.
You know what?
I would have hoped that writers for actual games would have grown out of that mentality before going
what I
into,
need to
you
do?
know,
I need
media.
I need to contact Larian Studios to see if they allow that succubus as a cameo in my game, because I'm pretty sure like dude, like I unironically went for that scene in the game. It was the most disgusting, the most vulgar thing that I have ever witnessed in my life, and I have been a furry. Like that thing was just.
I don't know, man. I had a hard time getting through. Like, I love Baldur's Gate. Just like Baldur's Gate 3, I have a hard time getting through it. Like, some of the quests were really cool, but some of the scenes were just like, please, why are you forcing this content on me just in order for me to be able to get like the next little thing for this character, you know?
Dev said that they used queer romance type. So like even the straight romance is still queer. So
Yes.
that's why it feels not necessarily like unnatural, but it feels off, right? Because like if you
The term is shoehorned in. It feels
Shoehorned in, like,
in.
I remember playing Baldur's Gate 2 just recently, in fact, before Baldur's Gate 3 came out, and the relationships are so fucking good. Like, they start like with Viconia the Vir, which is a dark elf, and it starts off like she hates you because you're a man, like literally just it, right? Like she comes from a society that hates men. and you gotta prove yourself to her. Like after completing quests and winning so many
Yeah.
battles, she's like, oh
You have
well,
to
okay.
prove your guile. You have to prove your strength. You have to
Yeah.
prove your reliability, your trustworthiness, and
And
like,
she basically starts going around. It's like, you know what? I still hate men, but you're different. Like she actually goes. It's like, oh, all these men are bad, but you. You know? And as you keep playing the game,
built different. Built
Yeah.
different, man.
yeah, she starts opening up, and this is like after hours of game, and you gotta work with this relationship, and you need to make sure
Yeah.
that you don't give the wrong line of dialogue, because then the entire plot line is over. So every
Yeah,
time
you gotta
speak with her-
earn her. You gotta earn your place as her paramour.
Yes, and after you do that, like she actually falls in love, and if you want to make the relationship work, you gotta push her away a little bit, like you don't go in, you know.
Can't be too willing.
Can't be too willing, yeah. And I was like, wow, like this is relationship done right. This is like, it feels like it's genuine. It feels so natural, and by the end of the game, it. Well, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but like it's actually very emotionally impactful.
Yeah, the characters have more than just simple presence. They have nuance.
Yes. Meanwhile, in Baldur's Gate 3, it's like, you wanna fuck? Yeah, okay, we fucked, relationship complete. Don't cheat on me, by the way, because if you cheat on me, I'm gonna go upset.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, there were some really cool stories, like Karlach stories, really amazing. Like I love the emotion that she had in some of her scenes. But when you're dealing with the complexities of dealing with some of the characters, like even when you're dealing with Minthara, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude, you meet her in the damn goblin camp, right? And I remember in the first version of the game, if you went through the goblin camp and you wrecked it, Minthara was dead, right? You killed
Yeah.
Minthara. But now they kind of like
Yeah, they
basically
allow you.
watered her
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
She's still available now. Like even if you decide to go the path of good, now suddenly a real deal Menzo Berenzan Dro, or Drow, however you say it, but I say Dro, suddenly forgets absolutely everything and conveniently is, yeah, all right, I guess I'll travel with you because of tadpole reasons. Whereas anyone who's ever played or ever read any of like Salvatore's actual work on these dark elves know that they would be the ones who would be stabbing you in the fucking back to tear the damn thing out of your skull to eat it for themselves.
Well, she had one as well, so.
I know, that's what I'm saying,
But
right? The fact that all of that is flushed down for the sake of easy
but
romance.
the character itself, right? Like when you look at Viconia the Vir, like she's attractive, she's alluring, she's mysterious. I'm looking at Minthara, which, you know, she's got a well-written character, but she's voiced by a middle-aged woman and looks like 45. No eggs. Like, I'm sorry, I can't just... No. Like, I can't get romantically attracted to her. The only reasonable attraction, and that's only because the bar was so fucking low, is the devil lady. And even her, after seeing her naked, I was repulsed. She even has pubes, what the fuck? Shave, bush, lady, please. But it was also the shadow elf, Shadowheart, right? Those are the only two logical choices, and I would have gone for the fucking elf if she wasn't so vintage. Like, I'm not into cougars. I'm sorry. It's and
what can you say, V? What can you say? These were the priorities when the game was being made. I mean,
how old was Tali Zoravas?
It's still an excellent game, but it could have been next level if they wouldn't have just
like for instance, if you want to get a good character romance, play Path of Wrathfinder, Path of the Righteous. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got
and Harvey's got a good point, man. Minthara's voice doesn't fit her face.
No.
You're damn right. Minthara's voice feels like when you get like an anime dub that was made by a low budget company.
Like
they've got like
stalking.
the completely wrong voices for the character.
Tali was young. She didn't seem that young. I mean, she's got a mask, so you can't see her. But like, if you want actual good characters, Arwe Shal from Pathfinder, like she's a succubus that a god, like the goddess of dreams, tried to make her good. So like she's really confused because she's trying her best in order to do good, even though like she's naturally evil character. So Arwe Shal was an amazing romance. You got like this psycho elf as well, like the serial killer elf. Like she's also really interesting if you can try to seduce her and try to bring her on the righteous path. Um,
Well, I can name one for you too, man. Fall from Grace from Planescape Torment was a
haven't played.
succubus that was good alignment as well.
Liara, yeah, Liara from Mass Effect, also really great character. Bastille from Star Wars: The Old Republic. Like, there's so many examples, right? But like for some fucking reason, Torio from Neverwinter Nights 2.
Mm-hmm.
But no, like they just, it's not like they don't know how to make characters, or there aren't characters that are good. It's just they don't want to make them good.
We've seen better characters come out of technology that went obsolete 10 years ago, V.
Yeah.
So somewhere there has to be a conscious decision to accept this suckage before publishing somewhere. And it's about finding which gland is allowing this cancer to fester and then cutting that stuff out of the process, and we should get back to an idea of at least some form of aesthetic normalcy.
Oh my fucking god, Nikkei. Like Nikkei
Yeah.
has waifus that have like 3 or 4 lines, and they have more character depth and immersion than most of the Baldur's Gate 3 cast.
Yeah, and the quarterly stats for Nikkei just came out. They made 14 million in profit just with the banners alone in the last quarter.
Jesus Christ. They're printing money. See, they're the ones
Yeah.
causing inflation. I can understand Joe Biden now when he says it's like, no, we're not producing inflation. Yeah, Nikkei is like they're printing money with their game. Fucking printing
Korean
money.
companies, the source of all inflation. Oh shit.
See, do you believe in anarcho-capitalism?
No.
I will tell you, right, because like who's going to pay for the roads, right?
Right.
Okay, I will tell you how you can pay for the roads, right? Like this is my system. I will make anarcho-capitalism work. You have
Yeah,
some...
there's too much that isn't considered in
No, listen.
anarcho-capitalism.
Listen,
Yeah.
I will tell you how you can make it work. You get these ushikushi VTuber anime girls, and if you donate to them, it's
Okay.
considered patriotic, and the money from the donation goes to build the roads. Dude, I'm telling you, it would fucking work. Like,
Oh my God, V. I
it
don't know
would
what they put in the
fucking work.
Romanian water, but you're
No,
on
like
something.
think about it, right? Like if you donate to this lady, like she's this patriotic, big titty anime waifu, and if you donate, it's not considered simpage. It's considered like you're a patriotic, good citizen. Like you're doing your part because you're donating so that the money goes to the roads.
The nation adopts one or more cute anime avatars.
Yes.
You give them live 2D or proto 3D models.
Yeah.
You place them all over the place in like interactive kiosks, AI driven with GPT 4.5, so that you can walk up to them in like a Demolition Man style thing and like, "Hi, how are you today?" And they're like, "Man, my life sucks, man. My girlfriend left me." And they're like, "That's great. Have a great one." You know, this is an entire nation with institutionalized VTube avatars. I can see it happening.
No, I'm telling you, it would make anarcho-capitalism work, and you can even have like when you declare war on when Russia declares war on you, or right, the anime, it's like to battle my brothers, and like everyone would just go out there and fight.
The very bad Russians are coming.
Yeah.
But I mean, we already have some cases where, like, if you go into Akihabara in Japan, right, and you take a look at some of the kiosks that are outside of whenever last time I went there were a bunch of these like stand-up panels, kind of like the McDonald's kiosk when you're going up to order it, except they were like demi-interactive avatars that would kind of react to you based on a camera that was pointing at you. It was actually really cool, but like the technology already exists to do that kind of thing, to like allow, I guess you could say, individual interaction with just like instances of VTubers and shit like that. So, I mean, we recently saw the link that you sent me where there was a VTuber izakaya, a small Japanese bar or whatnot, or maybe it was a Korean one, where you can sit down to a glass plate projection of a VTuber who can see you and interact with you live.
Okay, here's what I want to do. Okay, you can tell me if it's possible or not. I think there are places in the world where there are tribes of people that are undiscovered, right? Like they have no contact with the human technology. They do not know about anything else.
Isolated tribes, yeah.
Now, you're not allowed to come into contact with them. But what I think I want to do, I think it's legal. I think you can. So
What?
imagine this, right? You take 100 drones, and during the middle of the night sky, you make a big titty Uzaki-chan onto the sky. You project with the drones.
And it becomes part of their carved mythos for their
This
like
big
you
titty
poison an entire
Uzaki-chan.
generation with anime titties.
Do you think like they would start worshiping Uzaki-chan if that happens?
You put that in the sky and you have that like grid work moving things around shit and you don't give them any context. Yeah, definitely. I mean, think of it this way. Look up cargo cults.
Oh yeah, I know
Right?
about them. Right,
This
right,
was
right.
just these were entire
Hold on.
like
Describe it to
like
the chat. Describe it to the chat what a cargo cult is, because they may
all right.
not know.
So there may be, I would recommend everyone takes a look at a video about it, but just because maybe a part of my explanation will be maybe a little bit off the target, but cargo cults were a bunch of nations that went through a considerable cultural and civic change based on airplanes dropping cargo in the wrong places and stuff washing up on shore.
Oh,
So they would
that's
see
not,
these
no.
boxes.
That's not what happened. Okay, I actually.
All
know
right,
a
yeah,
little.
you go for it.
Right,
Then.
so this is during World War II, where the Americans
Yeah,
were fighting in
World
the
War II.
Pacific, and there were islands with people that were. It's not that they were backwards; they just didn't have contact with anyone else. Like they were isolated on the island. So think about like people wearing leaves and tribalistic gear, right? And you have the Americans going and making military bases on those islands. So the people there were shocked. Now the Americans were nice to them because like they weren't attacking or aggressive, and they would just provide them with crates of food, crates of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was
And
saying,
after
yeah.
the war was over, the same people were noticed to recreate the American military gear, the American military signs like USA and shit. But they would also like construct actual airplane fields and
Yeah,
makeshift
in hopes
airplanes.
of receiving the next airplane.
Yeah, like trying to get the Americans to come back, like trying to get the crates to come back to the island.
Yeah, but you also missed the ones where like cargo crates would wash up on shore from shipwrecks or from airdrops and so on and so forth. There were all sorts of different cultures that were affected by it. Yeah.
Now, let me see if I can find some pictures of it. Oh yeah. Here you have like the cargo cult, and
But yeah, like lesser things have created major like cultural evolutions, right? Or cultural shifts.
so they're
if,
wearing jeans. Like apparently the jeans there, they're not making it themselves, but they still have them and they pass them on for like the priestly class from generation to generation.
denim, man, it lasts forever.
And they have like the marking, the USA. Like obviously they like, again, this is a cargo cult, right? So like they may not even know what the alphabet is or what they mean, but like they just know that it's what the soldiers used to have. So but like imagine you have like Uzaki-chan, right? Do you feel like they could end up with making human sacrifices for the goddess?
I guess it really depends on the nature of of like the actual culture that you're infecting. Like it depends. The willingness to sacrifice is not dependent on what you're
like
presenting them.
imagine
It depends on who they are.
imagine you make the goddess just appear every time, and like at one point she just stops appearing.
I mean, if you put an Uzaki-chan in the sky and then you make her whip out a knife with drones and then stab a thing in the eye, then you might wind up with a couple of people that pick up on the message. But
Can you imagine, like, you make Uzaki-chan, like, at one point not appearing, so they start wondering what they did to anger the goddess? Like, why is the goddess not appearing?
it's like, yeah, big cleavage creature in sky. Why do you not twinkle for us again?
I am curious, though, like, if you actually do that, would it be illegal?
I think the last uncontacted tribes, I think they're UNESCO protected or something like that. I think the UN has some sort of like, if you do this, you're a very, very bad person. But then again, who actually has the authority to bring you to court kind of thing? Because there already have been some would-be protected tribes that got kind of like aggressively contacted by like Christian missionaries and things like that. So it's already happened that tribes that are supposed to be isolated have been kind of like infected by outside presences.
I think like one Christian died, and I was like, well,
yeah, he got eaten alive.
There's
pretty
like
sure.
there's this island where apparently the natives are very aggressive. Like no one knows why, but like if you go there, they will kill you. And there was a couple of stories with like fishermen that during a storm, like their boat was carried to the island and they were killed and stuff like that. I think it's like next to Australia, if I'm not mistaken, the island. But
maybe like near Tasmania or something like that.
I don't know. Like, but like there was this Christian that really wanted to go there. Like, really wanted to go there.
Yeah, and it was a cannibal cult, right?
Yeah. Like first time he goes there, and I think like he manages to escape. Like they shot him in the shoulders and shit with like blunt arrows, which maybe like people were saying like maybe they were just actually giving him a warning shot. You know, like they just fuck off. But he went there a second time and he didn't make it. And I was like, well, sure, but like, I mean, if he really wanted to do it, like, you want me to feel sad for him? Like, I mean, I guess any death is a tragedy, but like, the man knew what he got himself into. Like, there were people that told him not to do it, and he did it anyway.
Yeah, they have. It's like those people that go through like the reverse zoos where you're in the car and the tigers are all outside, and then somebody decides to step out of their car, and it's like, well, I mean, what did you expect? You know, you wind up on like chaotic.com or something.
Oh, it's next to Burma. Yeah.
Is it like the island? I got a friend telling me here that it's North Sentinel Island, apparently, or something like that in the Indian Ocean.
Maybe.
Could it be?
I don't know. But it's like, it's a famous island. Apparently the reason the natives are hostile is because allegedly a couple of 100 years ago, pirates went there and they enslaved the population. And after the pirates gone, like, they're very distrustful of outsiders.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
When there's no system of authority or system of consequence in place, people tend to do some pretty nasty things.
Senor Sticks, now that a comic called you incel, are you now famous? Oh my fucking god, I did that 40-minute response video.
In the mask and everything, dude.
He was saying like all these things, and I was like, should I make a response? And it's like, okay, you can't say this stupid stuff. Cause my whole point
I gotta
was,
say, man, when some of my videos have more views than him, that's how he knows he's a 5-viewer Andy, man. Holy shit.
The thing is, it's not about the views, but like I make a video where I notice a lot of ladies on TikTok, and it's a trend now. Like they're in these very rich 4x4 cars. They have these very expensive smartphones. They got brand designer clothing, and they're like, "Oh, life is so difficult. I don't know how I'm going to pay for rent."
Yeah, the daily struggle. Oh
Yeah.
my.
And I'm like, okay, so you're sitting on a mountain of resources. Like I'm not saying that there aren't other people that have it hard, but like you're literally on this mountain of gold. And you're saying you can't afford shit. It's like, well, maybe don't buy luxury items. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a car, but like,
maybe adjust your lifestyle a bit so that you can afford it until you get back on your feet. You know, make adjustments instead of being a luxury queen.
And this communist comes up to me, makes a reply video, and is like, so you think that just because she's got all these things, she's rich? And then like 20 minutes in the video, he's like, okay, I looked it up. She's rich. I hate rich people, but I still don't like that guy. And I'm like, oh, fuck me.
Fucking womp.
It's like, if stereotyping is wrong, how am I always so right?
Yeah.
But I know that.
You know, in some cases, stereotypes exist for a reason.
No, the chick was a multi-millionaire. Like, unironically, like I looked at her TikTok. She had millions of views per video. It's like, okay, well, that's like at least a $10,000 income per month. Like that's
easy.
Yeah. And then she's like in this 4x4, she's got like an expensive iPhone and she's got brand clothing. It's like, come on. I didn't even look up her Instagram. Like,
I would imagine that she's constantly driving around in like cost of living areas that are easily into 500,000s or something.
Yeah. Like she was very rich, right? And my point was, it's like a lot of these people are fake. In the sense, like, they're just saying what's trendy, but, like, they don't actually mean it. It doesn't seem like it's coming from the heart. I don't think she's struggling financially.
Yeah, people who give advice about struggles without ever have actually going through those struggles are just full of hot air, man.
TikTok barely pays. Listen, if you have 1 million viewers on the regular on TikTok and you're not making money, you're an imbecile.
Yeah, if you have 1 million people watching your videos,
yes,
and you're saying it barely pays, that's a user problem.
That's a you problem, yeah.
Yeah, like You talk to a monetization guy. Get your money. Get your stacks. If you
Get a
got 1 million
manager,
views.
yeah. Like unironically, like again, like it's one thing if you're on TikTok and you make like videos that have like 10,000, 20,000 views. Okay, you know,
Yeah. If
although you should still
if
be
your
able to
stuff,
make money. You should still be
yeah,
able to
if
make
you're
something.
making original content and you have a million viewers, you can make money, guaranteed.
Yeah, and if you don't make money, then that's a you problem. Like
Yeah, that's a as they say, a skill issue.
Fallout 2, the Vault Dweller suit in the temple. Oh yeah. They did have that. See, I was like thinking about it, like in Fallout.
Oh,
You know, the game starts and it's like this shaman guy that had a vision, and I'm thinking like, we will never have stories like that anymore. Like
no,
everything.
we've entered a different era. It's a different writing paradigm now.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while before we get back into an age where we're going to get really poignant, going back into an age where we're going to see more competence over culturalism. Take a look at it this way, right? We've already seen this in the past, right? Think back as to in the years where spaghetti westerns really started. There was a whole other cultural era back then where they had a series of morals that were being applied to all movies. Basically, what we're feeling here, only with a slightly different vector, right? But we went through this exact process, and it gave birth to a completely different age of Hollywood back then, and just overall movie media in general. So this is not unheard of, right? We've been through this process before.
Yeah, but like my point is, I'm looking at Star Trek Discovery and the new Fallout series and many other. It's almost like very corporate environment. Like for instance,
It's
the
very
only
sterile. Yeah,
yeah,
it's very
and
sterile.
the only lived experience is that all the characters have like corporate America. Like they would never create something like, okay, well, there's the shaman and he's got this vision. It's so foreign. Like the concept
Yeah.
is foreign to them.
Rather than creating characters based on the assembling of a background and experiences, they create a character that encompasses an agenda, right?
Yeah,
So you already know what you got to encapsulate. You're just putting a skin suit on top of a machine,
yeah,
right? Rather than sitting there and like gestating an idea, having it grow, giving the character some semblance of presence and experience and past and like past input that shapes future output. Instead, they already know what the character is going to spout out. They just got to figure out what they're going to build around it to make it look like a character, right? To make it look like a
yeah.
caricature. So one is a character,
The other
another
is
is
a
a
caricature.
caricature
Yeah.
or a container for a message.
No, you're absolutely right. But it's also the fact that it's kind of like the same story over and over again. I mean, think about when Terminator comes out, right? So Terminator comes out and it shows you like this vision of the future where you have like the machines and there's skulls everywhere. And I remember like, wow, when that first hit, I wanted to know more about that future. It was so interesting, so cool, and the story
Yeah.
was
How
never
did we
told
get
before.
to that point? Where did it all go wrong?
Yeah, and the story was never told before. Like the idea of like machines that look like humans, and it was original to the Terminator, wasn't it?
Yeah. And Bob BQ in chat brings up a good point there, right? And I'm going to read out what he wrote. So because the like now it requires depth and experience, right? Good writing now, right? And current era writers, they don't have experience, right? They never travel outside of their little safety bubbles,
Yeah.
right? I'm paraphrasing what he's writing there because he put it a lot more eloquently than I did. But the writers that are being selected now, right? Because I always say a checkbox is over competency. They don't understand why people take the decisions that they do. So what they put out is just nonsensical.
Yeah, I mean, he makes hentai games, and I was looking at the reviews on Steam for his hentai games, and people are like, oh my god, the story is so good, the story is mind blowing. And it's like, yeah, because people who make these games, we do not have oversight. Like, there's no, oh, you're not allowed to have this in, or you're not allowed to have that in,
Yeah.
because you're making this demographic look bad, or you're making that in. You're allowed to create, you know? And
Yeah, projects that are allowed to have passion in them.
yeah. It's kind of like the coffin of Ashley and Lele, which is not hentai, but it's
Yeah.
written just by one woman, and the characters have life because even the fucking Helltaker, man, like the Helltaker's got like a couple of lines of dialogue and it's
Yeah.
so good, right?
A,
Because
a little like the equivalent of a tiny Kuso game style thing, and they've got they've got lore deeper and more intricate than like take a look at like just like the last Marvel's movie.
Oh my
right? You
god.
take a look at the demons in Helltaker, and they have more character and more reason for their characters to behave that way than the entire movie has. And it's in like from end to end, like reel to reel, we're getting less of an experience in a feature length film than we are in a dinky $5 game on Steam. Like
It's
when it
free.
gets to
It's not
that
even
point,
$5. It's fucking free. Like the
oh,
thing.
that's true. It's a freebie game, right?
The thing that I don't get as well, it's like it all works out. It's like, oh look, he's making pancakes for these girls, and it's wholesome and shit. It's like, what?
Oh, V, man. So I actually have an
Yeah, yeah.
engagement at 4:30 there, so I gotta get
Oh.
ready for
All
my
right. Well,
hosting.
thank you for being here, and chat. Thank you for listening to us. We'll see you next week, and
Hey,
let us know what you think in the comment section. Take
hey,
care.